Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me is Andrew Meadows.
I'm here, and I'm recording with a far superior microphone.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I think you're recording using the same equipment that you used on our last episode. It just unfortunately didn't come out that way when we looked back at everything. So yes, well, I mean, to be honest, you sounded perfectly lovely to me when we were recording. I will say that. It sounded great. Clearly, the Discord settings were not off. It just happened to be a bit of a disaster when it came to the actual recording software. So, yes, apologies again for
I apologize. Should always verify your settings and everything in line before hitting the big red circle. So I do apologize to everyone out there on the interwebs about my audio quality.
It's it happens. It's Andrew has an issue on his end. I actually had a little bit of an issue on my end. I think my microphone was a little too high at a couple times. I think my technical issues were a little bit of a lesser problem, but all in all, it was a bit of a hot mess in terms of the audio of the episode. So we collectively do apologize for that happening. But that said, if there was any movie that deserved, I don't know if deserve is maybe the best way of putting it, but if there's any movie that we could have chosen to have a bit of a technical screw up on, it would have been Wonder Woman 1984 because let's just say it wasn't exactly worth the 3 hours that we spent on it. But
it was a fun episode to record, though. It was very fun to record.
It's true. It was a far more fun episode to record than it was to actually, sit down and watch the movie. Although I suppose Andrew and I were fairly entertained by the badness of it all. If you want to put it that way. So. So anyway, we are moving on to bigger and better things. Andrew and Anna had a lovely conversation at the tail end of our last episode on Wonder Woman. For those that were able to decipher the audio, that is, about a film called Soul, a Disney and Pixar film named Soul. And that is what we are here to talk about in full. So no surprises. I don't think Andrew's changed his opinion on it since we recorded last, but certainly we'll have an opportunity to expand on that a bit more on this episode, and you'll have an opportunity to hear what I thought about it. And, spoiler alert, it's probably going to be pretty similar to what Andrew said. So the goal is, clean audio. The goal is a good movie to talk about. And I think we're going to accomplish both goals. I'm just putting it out there right at the beginning. I am feeling it. I have to admit, not only for those stated goals, but this was the first week of my final semester of law school, and tonight marks the end of my week. I only have classes and work Monday through Wednesday, basically. So this is when I get to rest on my laurels and enjoy life a little bit. And nice. I'm exhausted. I took 3 weeks. I didn't take 3 weeks off. I had 3 weeks off. A built-in winter break, and I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it, minus the driving to Florida and back part. That was a bit exhausting. But I enjoyed it. And I got a little too comfortable with it, and then you're thrown back into the real world, and you're just like, oh no, this does kind of suck. But you got to enjoy life to the fullest or whatever. In the spirit of Soul, I think that's probably the message we should be sending out to our listeners. So I'm enjoying the exhaustion with as well as enjoying the knowledge that I don't have to wake up early tomorrow morning and worry about classes and all that good stuff. But
days off are often the experience of having a day off is always elevated in the shadow of work. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I mean, it's with 3 weeks off, that's awesome. You know what I mean? And the days off are great, but nothing's better than I only have 1 day a week off right now. I'm working towards goals. Goals are to have two Saturdays a month. That's my goal. Making 2-day weekends a month, which would be excellent. But
you have it worse than most, to be fair. I mean, most people are just like Saturday, Sundays. That's my time of respite. For you, it's It's Sunday.
That's it. But I look forward to fucking Sunday.
I feel like you're working on Sundays, even, doing home projects and stuff like that. So you're always a busy man, I feel. But
I've gotten busy.
I suppose you relax however you choose to. So anyway, I think was it the Wonder Woman episode we talked about, 2021, turning over a new leaf, Happy New Year, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, 2021 is a fucking shit show already. Things have happened. We don't need to do a whole hour on current events again or anything like that, but good Lord, what is happening in this country? I think is probably a good place to start. Insurrection, impeachment, Armie Hammer is maybe a cannibal. 2021 is just absolute madness.
It's fucking turning into Mad Max. It's the end of the world.
Yeah. The Capitol riot was just,
fucking bonkers.
Unprecedented and obviously in many ways bonkers is a great descriptor for it. Just truly insane. Truly insane stuff. A lot of arrests that have been happening since there were a noticeable lack of arrests that happened the day of. I don't know. The times we live in. I really
that's the best way to put it, I think.
Words fail, I think. Anyway, Donald Trump has made history as the only president to have been impeached twice in a single term. Not that it matters the amount of terms. I think it's just more impressive that it happened in a span of 4 years.
Clearly, impeachment doesn't mean fucking.
But
impeachment doesn't mean shit. Apparently, if you can get it once and I got it twice, who cares? Who gives a shit?
Yeah, well, the Senate might do something this time, although it doesn't matter. He's got. Let me check my watch. Yeah, 7 days left in office. So, it is what it is. I suppose we'll see what happens. I think the goal is to prevent him from ever running for office again, which wouldn't hurt my feelings. I'll be entirely honest about that. The faster we can move away from this chapter, the happier I'll be, I'll say.
So Armie Hammer is a...
he says it's bullshit, but he dropped out of a movie because he didn't want to spend time away from his family amidst some allegations, some leaked Instagram messages, I think, talking about him liking to drink blood and... just some pretty wild content in there. I don't think I need to read anything out verbatim. But if anyone's curious, just Google Armie Hammer. You'll probably find things pretty easily.
It's ridiculous.
I didn't include that in the news section because I didn't really want to talk about it too extensively because it's just such a weird storyline that I'm kind of just like, you know what, I'm going to lump that in with all the other weird shit happening in the world and kind of just cast it aside once we throw it out there and give it some lip service. But yeah, I don't know, just truly madness so far. We're 2 weeks into the new year, and it is madness, is what I would say about it. So we're here. We're making the best of 2021 so far. We're playing catch up. Obviously, Soul is a movie that came out on Christmas of 2020. And there's a couple things coming out in January, but nothing that's really, I think, going to be too much of a focus for us. So I think our goal is basically to just keep things going. We know we got some technical issues last episode. Hopefully we've cast those aside for this one. Hopefully we're back on track. And I think the goal is 2021 to establish a sense of normalcy once again, even if we're not stepping foot in theaters for maybe several months or something like that. Hopefully we can still find a routine of some sort. So anyway, in the interest of establishing a routine, I think it's always appropriate that we talk about a fun fact for what we're covering for the episode. So I'm going to take the honors on this particular episode. I have a little bit of a fun fact regarding Soul, Pixar's Soul. Just for those who are interested in hearing a little bit about Soul. This is a movie that has been in development. Well, I guess it's out now, so I suppose it's not really in development anymore. But it's a movie that was in development for basically almost 5 years, I think, by the time it came out. Yeah, it came out just a few weeks ago. They began development on it in January of 2016. Pete Docter is the director of this. He had previously worked on Inside Out. That was his prior project. Then he moved on to Soul. And Early on in the production phase, I guess really probably pre-production phase of this film, they were trying to kind of develop the concept of what's going to be about, who the movie's going to be about. And so, as we know, anyone that's seen the movie or anyone that's seen the trailer for the movie knows that it's about a jazz musician. That's how the movie came about. It's, it seems like that would almost be the most integral aspect of this film, is it being about a jazz musician, because it feels like such an important part of the film. But as it turns out, the movie was originally going to be about a scientist and not a musician. So that was obviously a very different movie than the one we got, where jazz is such a huge influence and a huge presence in the film. And so the idea was they wanted a profession the audience could root for. And so they decided to go for a musician instead of a scientist, because as we all know, in 2016 to 2020, we do not root for science. Amidst a global pandemic, we do not root for science. We root for stupidity, and we champion it in this country. So that was probably a correct maneuver, as sad as it is to say.
Good move, Disney.
I guess the idea is that scientists are maybe a little more robotic personalities, a little more uptight, a little more cold. Maybe that's what they were thinking. Musicians are kind of looser and freer and cooler. But anyway, that's kind of what happened. And
I think that was a good move, though.
Yeah, I agree. They made the character a jazz musician, and then they kind of worked backwards from there, and like, okay, well, if we're going to make him a jazz musician, we should probably make him a black main character, and that was also a good move, obviously. Yeah. So, it all kind of came together eventually, and lo and behold, we have the final product that is available on your local Disney Plus apps. So, and not at a $30 upcharge at that. So yeah, I mean, it is kind of interesting, right? That a movie like this kind of went through that sort of genesis, but it just needed to find its spark, or something like that. So so yeah, that's what we got on the Soul Fun Fact front. At least that's what I got on the Soul Fun Fact front. I don't think Andrew has anything.
I don't have anything meaningful.
Okay.
No.
I didn't think so, but I figured I didn't know if you stumbled across anything in the past 5 minutes or not. But anyway, on to the news. Got a little bit of news here, a couple trailers that we'll talk about. Kind of interesting movies for almost a similar sort of reason. We'll talk about that. I suppose we begin with the sad news. I think that's kind of a habit that we've gotten into. Is if anything bad happens, we kind of put that at the top and then go on from there. This is not a story of someone passing away, but it is still sad news. I think it's actually pretty devastating news, particularly for the person involved. So Tom Kane is not a name that most people probably recognize offhand, but I can guarantee if you've watched Star Wars: The Clone Wars, or if you've seen Star Wars: The Last Jedi, you've heard his voice. Tom Kane is a voice actor who was the narrator for Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I was going to do an example one, but war, that sort of thing. He's that guy. He also voiced Yoda in the Clone Wars.
Oh, okay.
And he also provided the voice for Admiral Akbar in The Last Jedi. He unfortunately suffered a stroke a couple months ago. We were just learning about this only a few weeks ago. He suffered a stroke 2 months ago, so it would have been, I guess, probably late October that this would have happened. That left him largely unable to speak. This is a voice actor, so it's like that's particularly heavy for many, many reasons. So it was a left side stroke that gave him right-sided weakness and damaged the speech center of his brain, which means he can't efficiently communicate verbally, nor can he read or spell. So he's still kind of himself, but basically he's now been deprived of the one thing that maybe the major thing that he's known for. And, that's just a truly awful thing to happen to anyone. But certainly someone that, we've heard hundreds of times between, Star Wars. It's just, I don't know. So it's a really, really sad thing to read about. I did see a report, I think only within the past day or two, that's saying that he's doing well. He's getting better, but something like this, you really never know if you'll truly be able to recover or
it's true.
regain,
some people
speech
bounce back,
so.
and some people unfortunately don't. Fingers crossed for him, though.
So he's in therapy, speech, occupational, physical therapy. But there's a good possibility, really, that he may never work again as a voice actor. So, we hope that he does recover, and we may not be getting any more of the Clone Wars, but we got Bad Batch. There'll probably be many animated shows, and I'm sure he's done other things besides Star Wars. I just can't think of anything off the top of my head. So
that's what we know him for.
Yeah. So hope he gets better. Hopefully he gets better for sure. And other sad news, I say that facetiously this time, actually, though. We're back into release date delay territory. Because surprise, surprise, despite the fact that a vaccine is now in the wind, it's not necessarily widely available, and we're getting to the point now where a lot of movies that had been scheduled for the early parts of 2021, thinking, oh, we'll be fine, we'll be free and clear of a pandemic, no big deal. Yeah, it turns out that's not entirely true. So Morbius, Jared Leto, starring as the titular Morbius, that film has been moved by Sony from its March 19th not original, but 2021 release date now to October 8th of 2021. So a nice sizable bump of almost 7 months there, which, obviously is devastating in many ways because Morbius is a film that we're all looking forward to, and it's certainly going to be one of Sony's crown jewels for this year.
That's Jared Leto's Morbius, right?
That's Jared Leto's Morbius. Which fortunately, as we talked about on the Wonder Woman episode, we will get our dose of Jared Leto in just a few weeks' time when the Little Things comes out on HBO Max. So fear not, you'll be able to have Jared in the front half of the year and in the back half of the year. We'll be well covered on Jared Leto territory. And if you're ever feeling really down about it, remember, you can always watch Suicide Squad in the middle. Wait, hold on. I take it back. You can watch Zack Snyder's Justice League featuring Jared Leto probably sometime in March and April, also
nice.
on HBO Max. So, it's the year of the Leto, and we just love it here. We're just such huge fans of Jared Leto here at Watch Review Repeat. We can't say enough nice things about the man. The way he is very creepy and unsettling because that's who he is as a person. The way that translates into his acting prowess. It's just something that's really, really impressive. So anyway, Morbius is moving October 8th. Like I said, very, very sad news. So we've front loaded the sad news. We can move on if you have any. If you don't have any other thoughts on Morbius, I guess I should say.
No, I just wanted to confirm that my man Jared Leto's in it. That's all I got on that, though.
It's your man. It's your boy. Well, no, Oscar Isaac's your boy. We'll talk about him later. It's your man.
Ooh,
Jared Leto's the man. Oscar Isaac's the boy. Yeah, that's the way it works in this world. Yeah. I took that bit too far. I'm so sorry to everyone. I took it too far. I don't like Jared Leto. Don't give me my stupid quotes out of context. Jared Leto sucks and this movie's going to suck, but fuck it, we'll probably see it. And hell, if it's in October, shit, we might see it in theaters after all. So
hey,
you win, Sony. You win. Maybe. Okay, let's talk about that first trailer, one of the things I kind of teed up. A movie called Lockdown. Coming to HBO Max, I think literally tomorrow as of recording this, which is to say by the time this is available to the listeners, it will be available on HBO Max because I don't edit these things in a span of a day. It just doesn't happen.
But our Patreon subscribers,
they may be able to just say, if they're listening to this the day that it goes up, they might just say, oh shit, I can watch
let me put that on pause. Let's go watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is release day. This is very exciting.
How'd you like that plug? That was a pretty good plug.
It was pretty good. Yes, indeed. So Locked Down, it's a film with Anne Hathaway and Chiwetel Ejiofor, pandemic-centered film. Let me ask you before I talk about anything behind the scenes of this film, because I think it's very interesting there. What did you think about this trailer?
I didn't mind it. I don't know. That's about it. I didn't mind it.
You've seen worse. You've seen better. It's
exactly.
it's squarely adequate. It's somewhere in the middle. Yeah.
I like how they. I like their approach to making a COVID movie. You know what I mean? It's kind of a lighthearted thing. It's kind of, I don't know. It's just jestful in nature, I guess, which is, in the uncertain times and the crazy times we live in. I mean, it's to make light of something. I think is always good. You know what I mean? So, I like the point. It's not like Songbird, for example.
I was just going to ask the question of like, well, to bring the obvious comparison. So this is a tier above your Songbirds, is what you're saying.
I appreciate the angle better. I don't know.
It's not to speak of the quality of the film, but certainly the marketing of it. It's not like we went and watched Songbird. Why would we do that to ourselves? Right. Is this something that you would watch, or is this something that you watched the trailer and thought, fine, I spent 2 minutes and 40 seconds, of my life watching this, and that's fine. I'll move on and be okay with it.
I like what's his, not Mondo. What's his name? What the fuck's his name? Edgewetter?
Chiwetel Ejiofor?
Yes, I like him.
It's a good top two. I mean, Anne Hathaway and Chiwetel, I think, are good actors. So yeah, I mean, there's that. This is directed by Doug Liman, who, as the trailer indicated, directed Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but also directed Edge of Tomorrow. So,
I didn't know that.
I think he's a bit of a hit and miss filmmaker in some ways. He also directed The Chaos Walking, which was the Tom Holland, Daisy Ridley one that we saw the trailer for a little while back. That was like, okay, so that's kind of an intriguing aspect.
I think this is a good date movie.
But
this is a good date movie. That's what I will say.
Okay, so it's a good date movie to sit on your couch and watch on HBO Max. Then is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what's interesting about this film, the behind the scenes thing about this film. They began writing this film in September. And when I mean September of 2020.
Whoa.
So they wrote the film, started filming that same month, and later on in September.
How is that even possible?
This movie is coming out tomorrow. This movie was
That's nuts.
Written, directed, edited, post-production complete in a span of 4 months, basically.
That's fucking nuts. How is that even
right?
Wow.
I mean, that's.
I am going to watch it. I will watch this movie.
I mean, I'm not sure whether to be impressed or not. I mean, I'm impressed by the turnaround time because that's something you just don't see in Hollywood.
No. Shit, you don't see that hardly. I mean, you don't see that hardly anywhere with anything. That's nuts.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's true. I mean, TV's probably the closest thing, like network TV where they film those things a few months in advance. But like, yeah, for something like this, it's just, I don't know. It's such an unprecedented thing, really, that it does make me a little bit more intrigued about it. There are some early reviews which are like, not great, not amazing. Like, this is fine. I think someone said it's the best pandemic movie, which, or not, maybe not of all time, but the best movie kind of, made during a pandemic and released during the same pandemic because it's gone on for a while. But I don't know. I just find that super fascinating that this, I don't know, was made in such a rapid fire fashion. Yeah. Like it almost makes me wonder, like, if this isn't a disaster, like, how does something like Wonder Woman 1984 spend fucking 7 months on a shelf? You know what I mean? Like, presumably they didn't touch it because the final product indicates as much, but like, how does that happen when this can get made in the span of time that Wonder Woman was sitting collecting dust and no one thought, let's do something about this? I don't know, but maybe they're of equal quality, and so the point is moot. But I don't know. Anyway,
and the movie's incredibly practical too. You know what I mean?
Sure, sure. That's a different sort of thing, right? Yeah, that's true.
But at the same time, though, I mean, to write a movie, produce it, get the actors all involved, to shoot everything, to do everything you need to do to make a movie in 4 months is remarkable. I mean, it's crazy.
And it's more than just those two. I mean, Ben Kingsley, I think, popped up at one point. Dulé Hill from West Wing's in there. I think I think a lot of the actors are probably zooming in, you know what I mean? Like they're in the film via, the Zoom conversations that'll happen out on screen, and it's mostly just
that's cool.
and Chiwetel that are going to be the live action ones. But.
There was I think there was a show that came out. There was a show that came out that was all like zoomed up. And
they did the Parks and Rec thing. I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
No, it was some sort of like love thing. I mean, it was like it was like a CW-ism, or something like this.
Right up your alley then.
No, I didn't watch any of it, but I remember seeing the trailer for it. But anyways, yeah, I mean, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, well, speaking of the CW, I didn't put it in the news because I didn't think we'd actually talk about it, but I'm going to chuck it in there just for the lulz. The spinoff Green Arrow and the Canaries is not moving forward over the CW. I know you're very devastated by that, given how much you're looking forward to that television show happening. But sorry to break the sad news to you.
I was scrolling through the Netflix. I don't want to get tangled up in the news forever, but I was scrolling through the Netflix feed, looking for. I was going to Queen's Gambit because we're rewatching that, and anyways, the Arrow episodes or whatever Arrow's on Netflix.
Yeah, most of them are. I think everything except Batwoman's on there.
And I stopped for a minute. It's like, shit doesn't look half bad. And then I started remembering fucking all the shit. And I'm like, I can't. I need to keep scrolling. So I just kept scrolling. But I did pause on it for long enough to play the Netflix clip.
What I would guess is they're probably showing something from the early seasons, which I think, even with nostalgia goggles and stuff on, I think those early couple seasons of Arrow particularly are still pretty good. I think they'd hold up on rewatch. It's when you keep watching that things become a little bit more problematic. And I think that's true of the other shows too. If
you could condense Arrow down to an 8-episode season,
yeah,
I think you'd probably have an okay show.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Radioactive is playing over the end of every episode, then it's all classic and it's easily very rewatchable. But yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing with those shows is you get a 20-episode arc and it's just horse shit filled with love triangles and Radioactive. I don't need it. But yeah,
Radioactive, Radioactive. Whoa.
He's staring up to the neighbors through the apartment window, crying.
Come on, it's a classic Arrow moment. You love it. You love it.
Oh shit! I forgot about it. I didn't forget about it, but
how could you forget about that? No,
fond memories of Arrow.
Very fond memories. All right, let's move on to some Star Wars news. Everyone loves Star Wars news. Not the most exciting news, but certainly it's news nonetheless. So we learned, I think maybe a few months ago at this point, that Kevin Feige, or maybe that was a year ago, who fucking knows, Kevin Feige is going to produce a Star Wars film for Lucasfilm and Disney.
Nice. They can use it.
Yeah. So he's working on that, alongside his very, very, very busy Marvel schedule, which is something we'll also talk about on this episode a little bit. He's making a Star Wars film. We didn't really know anything about it. We didn't really have any details on it. And we really don't have a whole lot of details on it now, except to say that we know who is going to be writing the film. So it's a man by the name of Michael Waldron, who is going to be working on Kevin Feige's Star Wars film. And it's not a name I think that anyone's going to recognize offhand. However, it's clearly someone that Kevin Feige is a fan of, because this will mark, I think, the third time in a row that he'll be working with Kevin Feige hand in hand. So he is going to be the creator of the Loki series with Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston, I guess, playing Loki or whatever. Who cares about that? But it's got Owen Wilson in it, so that's wow-worthy if I do say so myself.
Wow.
So he's working on that, and in addition to that, he is co-writing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So he is very heavily involved in the Marvel Cinematic Universe at this point. The article that announces this basically says that they're expecting to bring him back for a season 2 of Loki, which I think is news in some sense that we weren't necessarily expecting multiple seasons of some of these Disney Plus shows that they're doing, whereas something like Loki, apparently they're keen to do more of. So cool. That sounds cool too. man's busy. Loki, Doctor Strange, Star Wars. I mean, again, no real information on like when in the timeline this is going to be. You know, this could be High Republic. This could be any number. This could be literally anything that you know. I mean, I have to imagine Kathleen Kennedy is walking up to Kevin Feige saying, "Hey, do you want to do a Star Wars?" And you know, if he says yes, then he has free reign to do whatever the hell he wants. I mean, that's the sort of clout that I feel like Kevin Feige should have at this point.
Yeah,
with Disney and with anything that he really touches at this point. So it's very exciting to see what he does. You know, it's interesting to see that he's partnering with someone that he's clearly comfortable working with. So I don't know. I mean, is there anything about this particular news that excites you? Is there?
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome.
You know, from
I mean,
Feige?
from the I don't know. I mean, obviously, I haven't seen Loki and I haven't seen the Multiverse of Madness.
I don't think any of us have seen it, to be honest.
No, but it sounds like the from the trailer or whatever we got, the sneak peek or behind the scenes or whatever we didn't. It wasn't behind the scenes. It was, I guess, a sneak or I don't know what you would call that. Was it a trailer, Loki trailer? Is that what that was?
Yeah, it was something. They called it something that wasn't a trailer, but it was a trailer. It's footage assembled in a way that is intended to represent and market a product. I think it's a trailer.
So you got that, and then you had the Multiverse of Madness. Guy Michael Waldron sounds like he's going to be a good sci-fi writer. I think we should expect some pretty good things.
And just to boost his cred a little bit, he did win an Emmy for his work as a writer and producer on season 4 of a little television show you might know called Rick and Morty. So how about that?
Did he really?
Yeah.
That's badass. That's awesome.
And to make everything come even more full circle, he is executive producing and created Starz' upcoming wrestling drama Heels, which stars none other than Stephen Amell, a.k.a. the Green Arrow. So there you have it. It all comes together. We planned this out. We mapped it all out in advance. To be fair, I mean, we do put the news on a Word document, but you know, things are kind of they all just come together. They, you know, it's
the magic of 2021.
That's it. Yeah. So that's what's happening on that front. We'll talk about Kevin Feige in a couple pieces of news time. Let's talk about our second trailer, which is it's just another interesting kind of behind the scenes kind of deal. This is a Netflix movie coming February 5th called Malcolm and Marie, starring John David Washington and Zendaya. Black and white drama film, which was also completely shot and made during the pandemic. I guess to show those similarities. I think this one had a little bit longer of a gestation cycle. It was announced, I think, in July. But the screenplay was written and finished in 6 days. The film was shot in a period of, I believe, roughly 2 weeks' time.
Oh my gosh.
But there was a little bit of a longer post-production cycle on it here, obviously, given that it's coming out 6 months after when it was, finished filming. But yeah, I mean, just kind of another crazy pandemic project in its own sort of way. So yeah, I mean, I guess people actors got to stay busy during the pandemic, and stuff.
I wonder if the fact that there's so much less being produced right now, I wonder if it's all hands on deck with these projects more so than it is normally.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean is I don't know. I'm not a Hollywood executive. You know what I mean? But I would imagine that you employ however many people you have a lot of different things going on at one time. Mm-hmm. With these projects, these movies, perhaps you have more dedicated focus on producing whatever you're producing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
Like, for example, if I'm a costume designer, right? If I'm a company that, I guess, I don't know. If I'm a company that produces costumes, I'm not producing costumes for I'm not creating assets for 4 companies right now. I'm only focused on this one thing. You know what I mean? So I can get that shit done real quick. Does that make sense?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know the exact answer, obviously, but I mean, certainly 2020 and I guess by extension 2021 means that I would imagine most companies, a lot of actors, companies, whatever involved in the filmmaking process have had to reconfigure things. I think to a pretty great extent, I'd have to imagine. So,
Tom Cruise did get pissed.
Tom Cruise got very pissed. The crew of Mission Impossible
What a
7.
badass.
I don't know if we ever knew what they did, other than maybe they were just maskless or something like that. Which obviously don't do that. Wear a mask. It's quite simple, in fact. But
Tom Cruise will personally kick your ass.
Tom Cruise was not having that shit. He was ready to light those fuckers up. He said, "Xenu will burn your souls out of your fucking body if you pull this shit again."
It was a straight up Tropic Thunder. It was a Tropic Thunder fucking line.
What's Len Grossman or something like that?
Yeah.
I will take a step back and fuck yourself in the face. Something like.
I'm talking. What did he say? I'm talking. Fuck. Oh God, I can't remember it. Well, United Nations or something. Well, oh man, I wish I could remember the fucking line of dialogue. It was so epic. That's what he dropped on those poor people at the set of that movie.
Yeah.
On a side note,
side note. Okay, go ahead.
John David Washington.
Yes,
I'm giving. That's probably inappropriate. I think that's a different symbol now. I was giving him the OK symbol.
Yes. We don't do that on camera anymore. Well, don't do it in general. Maybe don't do it in general. It's probably for the best.
John David
Washington
Washington
be confused for
excellent.
Yes.
Excellent actor, and that's what I remember him from. Black Klansman. That's right. Anyways, I did see Tenet. He was in that.
I was going to say he might be in something you've seen recently as well.
That's it.
In addition to Klansman. So yeah.
But as far as the quality of the trailer, though, it looks very intriguing. I like the black and white. I think it looks cool. I don't really know. I mean, I don't know what I don't know what's going on in the movie a whole lot. I guess it's just about the relationship, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thrust of it. I think the setup per the YouTube description of the trailer is filmmaker Malcolm and his girlfriend Marie return home from a movie premiere and await his film's critical response. And the evening takes a turn as revelations about their relationship surface, testing the couple's love. So I think it's a very surface level kind of setup to explore a relationship.
Is it a one? Is it a one like a?
I think it's a single setting.
One setting? Is it like a one night thing?
I think so. I mean, well, maybe not one night, but it certainly seems to be pointed that way. But
that's pretty cool.
I think they only shot it. I think they got this home in California, and that's exclusively where it was shot, for that 2-week period. So I think it's going to be a pretty intimate movie, obviously, and I mean that more in this. I mean that in both, I guess, the sense of it's about love, intimacy, and stuff like that, but also, it's two people and a house. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really get usually an hour and a half to 2 hours about that sort of thing.
I like those movies.
So, and I think it's going to be a heady piece, one that's going to be, I think, enjoyable, when it's anchored by two excellent actors.
Yeah, that's right.
I think
that's what
kind of where you're getting at. But
yeah.
So I'm excited about this one. I think, I think our hope is that, January is catch up time for us, and then maybe February is when we can kind of start turning the corner and looking forward
Denzel Washington is his dad?
Yeah. Yeah. I thought maybe that's where you were going with until you started talking about Black Klansman. But yeah. If you listen to it, you can hear it. It's one of those things you can tell they're related. I mean, obviously, just they kind of look alike. That's how biology works typically. But just sometimes the voice and the cadence also matches up too. So if you look for it and you listen to it, I think you can tell. Sometimes he's spent a few years with Denzel, is what I'm saying.
Man, that's cool. I didn't know that.
So yeah.
On another side note, I would like to be established at one point in my life to where I can go by a full name. Just full name.
3 names?
John David Washington. Yeah. That'd be. Yeah, that's how you know you've made it, I think.
Yeah.
Anyways, I digress.
Well, you thought Quibi was dead, but joke's on you, isn't it? Quibi is back from the grave. Quibi, the zombie version of Quibi, is coming back. Sort of. So, interesting development. Roku has bought exclusive global distribution rights to the entire portfolio of Quibi.
Ooh.
So, the things that you missed out on Quibi, like the girl with the golden arm that she can't get rid of, or something like that. Did you ever hear about that?
No.
I don't know. I can't remember if we talked about it.
There was the one with the girl, Anna Kendrick. Didn't she have one on
yes. Yeah, it was like...
with the robot?
It's a sex doll or something like that?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, that's sort of quality content. Good news is, just because Quibi is dead doesn't mean that content has to disappear from this world. So, yeah, I mean, I bring it up because it's kind of interesting.
I was going to say, and I don't mean offense to this, because I know that I think you use a Roku. But I'm going to say it anyways, because I think it's kind of funny. You know the quality of the content when Roku's the high bidder.
I think that's a valid point. Absolutely. You know, you don't have your Amazons, your Netflixes, your YouTubes even really coming into there and saying like,
we'll buy your shit.
Quibi content? All right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that's totally valid. And, Roku is not a company that's known for Roku content. They're known for providing access to other streaming platforms. Like that's their claim to fame,
exclusively on Roku.
All right. No one says exclusively on Roku, although I guess that's about to change.
You catch the girl with the golden arm exclusively on Roku.
Exclusively on Roku. You know what I will say is this will be the first time that any Quibi content will be viewable on a television.
Fuck.
So there's that.
Is it cropped?
I don't think so. I think everything was shot normally, and then they would crop it if you wanted to watch it in portrait mode on Quibi. If you wanted to lose 75% of the image, you had the option to do so, because Quibi is all about options for you, my friend, my very good consumer friend. I think my biggest thing is Quibi, they did the bite-sized episodes of shit, that were supposed to be intentionally short, but they also put out these movies that were broken up into 9-10 minute chapters. And I'm like, so is Roku going to be putting a movie up in 9 to 10 parts, or are they going to have the common sense to just fucking put it together and just be like, look, we got a movie. You don't have to watch it, because if it's on a TV, it's it'll auto cue the next episode and blah, blah, blah. But it's just if it's a movie, it's not designed to be watched. I mean, I guess maybe it was designed to be watched like that by virtue of it being on this garbage mobile platform. But you know what I mean? I don't know.
Fucking Quibi.
The thing is, my TV has a Roku it has literally Roku integrated into it, so I'm gonna have lots of Quibi access coming up, as soon as it's available.
You have to watch something.
So I feel like just to close the loop on this joke of Quibi being a thing, and I almost feel compelled absolutely to just go back and I gotta watch something on Quibi. I don't know what it's gonna be, but I'm gonna watch something.
The girl
on there.
with the golden arm.
Just so I can say that I fucking watched something on Quibi. I have seen clips from the Golden Arm on Twitter, and they're gold. To be quite punny about it, they're gold. So anyway, yeah, Roku making some big moves. They're up there with the Amazons and the Netflix with this acquisition. I mean, this is game changing, obviously. So, no, not really, but whatever. That's fine. That's fun. Good for them. Good on you, Roku. Golf clap.
That's it. Golf clap.
All right, we close our news with a couple pieces of Marvel Cinematic Universe news. So we talked about Oscar Isaac, your boy Oscar Isaac. I might clarify a little bit earlier in the episode.
These people?
We center around the Moon Knight series, which Oscar Isaac is going to be playing the lead character in. He's going to be playing Mark Spector. I totally lost the character's name for a second there, who is a conduit for the Egyptian moon god Khonshu. It's going to be a 6-part series, a 6-episode series coming to Disney Plus. And we had previously known that Mohammed Diab, who is an Egyptian filmmaker, was going to be directing some of the series, and we've now learned that some indie filmmakers who you have some familiarity with, Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, are going to be directing some of the series as well. And I think they posted even on Reddit, maybe on Twitter, just basically saying this is fucking awesome. We're super ecstatic to be doing this. It's weird to us that we're going from doing indie shit to fucking Marvel shit. You know what I mean? But they seem pretty pumped about it. And obviously the chance to work with Oscar Isaac is something I think most filmmakers would not turn down. So, pretty good hire. I mean, I think having not seen any of their shit, I think everything they've done in the past few years has been very well received, very well reviewed. I think maybe the one or two movies you've seen you liked, so
yeah. So I saw Resolution.
They did something recently.
Spring, yeah, Synchronic.
That one got good reviews. I haven't seen.
I haven't seen that yet. I actually meant to watch that. I need to find out where I can stream that because I'm all about that. I remember being really, really interested in that trailer. But yeah, they put out like I said, I saw Spring. I think Spring was better than Resolution. Okay. You might like Spring. Love story. Guy goes to Italy and finds himself a girl but she's got some issues of her own. And
all is not what it seems. That sort of thing.
That's right. But yeah, so it's real cool people, man. I'm real excited about it. It's really cool that they're getting introduced to the MCU.
Yeah,
with such a limited cool. I don't know, their filmography is really interesting to say the least. So it's like I said, it's a big get, I think. That makes me very excited.
I think for both parties, I think that, again, going just really only secondhand off of what these guys have worked on, it seems like they have a very distinct tone and style to their films that has played very well. And so obviously that's why you're having your Kevin Feige and company probably saying, hey, let's talk to these guys and see what they've got and see what they might be interested in doing and get them on board.
What's the process like for getting a director? Do you know? Like, do people hit you up, or do you have an agent when you're a director?
I mean, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you must. Yeah. I mean, I think, I don't know. I mean, I think at least as far as Marvel is concerned, I think they've at least recently very much been turning towards the indie scene of just being like, let's look at talented filmmakers and maybe you don't know how to shoot action. Like, we have second unit for that. You'll be fine. Like, we're more curious to see what your pitch is. And I feel like a lot of times that's how it's turned out is like they almost set up a meeting because they know someone's going to be talented, creative, or maybe it's the agent setting it up for these directors. And they come to a pitch meeting with some cool ideas. And then, someone like Kevin Feige, who's just basically I'm up for whatever, talented people will make, good things. That's just kind of how it happens, They come in and deliver impressive pitches and just get the job that way. So I don't know if that's exactly how it's happening for these Disney Plus shows. I mean, there's a bit more volume here. They need to have sometimes multiple directors for the series, although some will, I think, share the same director. I think WandaVision, for instance, has the same director for all of its episodes.
Right.
But, that's a shorter episode count, or I guess a longer episode count with shorter episodes, I guess I should say, whereas something like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it sounds like Moon Knight is going to be like an extended movie almost in a way of 45 to 60-minute episodes, something like that. So I don't know what the exact process is, I guess, but I have to imagine there's a meeting of the minds certainly somewhere of saying we want to do this thing. Maybe you've got ideas for it, maybe you don't. Maybe they're just hiring them purely for their directorial prowess, and they're confident in what the writing is, that they'll be able to translate that and bring it to life, and in a cool and effective fashion. But I think in some instances it's really about hey, we're open to your creative vision too, and I think we definitely see that on the film side. I think Chloe Zhao, who's directing Eternals, talked about that recently, basically saying I don't know if I'll get writing credit on it, but basically when I came out of the project, there was a screenplay in place, but I just heavily retooled it. And it's the same thing that James Gunn did with Guardians of the Galaxy. Nicole Perlman had written a script for that, and he comes in and says, I want to do my version of this. It's this is good, and I like this as a base, but I'm going to make my movie using what's, this template that's been laid out before me, but it's going to be my movie when all is said and done.
Right.
And clearly, Volume 1 and Volume 2 later, those are definitively James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy movies and stuff like that. And so, I think that's the kind of thing that I think Marvel has really done a good job with lately, is letting writers and, filmmakers just kind of.
And I think that's probably why they're so successful as they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's to beat a dead horse. Wonder Woman 1984, for all intents and purposes, was Patty Jenkins' movie. So it's to say that, maybe filmmakers might be talented, but I suppose even talented filmmakers can misfire, something can go wrong, like,
or
I don't
there's
know,
a bunch of bean counters in suits and stuff in a boardroom saying what you need to hit, giving you these things that I don't like that. I want to do this.
Maybe, and that's not what Patty said, on the record, and maybe she's just covering up because she wants to get hired and she's doing Wonder Woman 3, so she wants to play ball. Maybe that's the case, but you know what it's like? She's like, no, this is my movie. I stand by it. And it's like, that's a choice. Okay. All right. Well, live and die by,
I guess they misfire, I guess. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I don't know. But anyway, that's what's going on the Moon Knight front, so definitely looking forward to that. Sounds awesome. I forgot, they actually announced another piece of casting alongside Oscar Isaac. So it's an actor named May Kalamaui who's going to be joining the show. She's worked on the Hulu show Rami. I've never watched it, but I've heard it's very good. No information on who she's going to be playing, but she's going to be in the show, and she's going to be alongside Oscar Isaac. And great. Sounds good to me, is what I'd say about that. I don't really have a whole lot else to add on that. But the last thing I can offer up for our listeners is that Kevin Feige, in an interview with, I think, Collider, talked about, a few things going on with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think it was a WandaVision-centered interview, but obviously they asked on a couple other things, and one of those things is obviously centered around the Fox acquisition, because that brought in a lot of properties that they're going to be working on. They announced the Fantastic Four movie. Still haven't heard anything on the X-Men.
Oh, man. X-Men.
Franchise, but, that's going to be happening
movie? X-Men
before
movie?
long.
Fuck.
Probably a few years down the road. It seems like they're content to let, the X-Men franchise sit on the shelf for maybe a couple of years before they go back to it because, Fox pre-acquisition kind of fucked it a bit. Logan aside, I suppose, recently, but...
Logan was incredible. I will say that.
Like I said, Logan aside. So anyway, one of the things that Fox really, I think, did a good job with pre-acquisition was Deadpool. And so that was kind of a weird situation of Deadpool 1 and 2 are very R-rated films, very, fourth wall breaking, self-referential, and kind of a movie that we don't have an equivalent of in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Marvel Cinematic Universe is pretty straight-laced. PG-13 is the max. We've never had an R-rated film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So what does that mean for the future of the Deadpool franchise? Is he getting neutered, so to speak, to appear in the MCU? What's going on with that? And Kevin Feige comes out and says, quote unquote, it will be rated R, and we're working on a script right now, and Ryan Reynolds is overseeing a script right now. Won't be filming until it sounds like 2022, but it's a very different type of character in the MCU, and Ryan is a force of nature, which is just awesome to see him bring that character to life. So it sounds like they're committed to making Deadpool 3 happen and making it a part of the MCU in some weird, zany fashion, I'm sure, as is appropriate for the character.
I wonder if that's how they introduce the X-Men.
I don't know. I mean, so the interesting thing is if Deadpool 1 and... I would assume multiverse is the way to do it, is just to say Deadpool 1 and 2 are canon. They took place in a different universe, and we'll just fold in, Deadpool will stumble on a multiverse device, and he'll just accidentally pop up in the MCU and say, shit, who the fuck are these assholes? Where the hell have they been for the past 10 years in my existence? You know what I mean? If there's a character where you don't have to care about continuity, it's absolutely Deadpool, you know what I mean? But... that's kind of my guess for how they handle it. But it is a weird situation of you had Colossus and them and Juggernaut in the last one. So it's you have X-Men characters that have been established, and presumably they'll want to do something with those characters at some point in the future. So you have to have some sort of explanation for how that happens. But again, if there's a character that you can not give a shit about that sort of thing, and it's going to be Deadpool. But it's nice to know that they're not just abandoning the franchise. I mean, obviously it's very successful. It wouldn't make sense to just drop it at this point, even if it's not something that fits the mold of a typical MCU film. But, maybe that's the thing that the MCU needs, is something that breaks the mold of, the Marvel movies are the same, blah, blah, blah. It's not cinema. I'm Martin Scorsese, and I make 17-hour movies that are boring as fuck. You know what I mean? Sorry, The Irishman was fucking too long. That's what I'm saying. It's too fucking long. Too long and too boring. Fine. This is kind of cool, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm excited to see what they do with it, and I'm glad that leave it to someone like Kevin Feige. We say nice things about him all the time, and I think it's for a good cause, because he just, I don't know. you talk about the suits, you know what I mean, for Wonder Woman 1984, and like Kevin Feige is a suit in his own sort of way, you know what I mean? Like he is the suit at Marvel Studios, but he's almost like he's just one of those people that seems to understand things. Like not only does he understand how the business works, clearly he's very successful on that front, but he just gets it, you know what I mean, on like a fundamental front of like, this is what makes this character tick, or this is what makes this property is interesting. Let's do this property now. Like, I don't know, just the way that he manages to juggle those seemingly two diametrically opposed responsibilities, as it has been for many years, of just being like, suits don't like comic books, but they like money. You know what I mean? Like, he's someone that kind of has that sort of sensibilities that seemingly fit both areas. And I'm sure there's an impressive team that is assembled at Marvel Studios that does a ton of work that we don't see, that Kevin Feige gets credit for, but like he still deserves credit for what he has accomplished and what he continues to accomplish.
At the very minimum, he must be one hell of a boss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the people in the back, all the people in behind the scenes in the background making everything possible, and then he comes out, and of course he takes credit for it because he's the head of the deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. But he obviously gets it. So
yeah. Deadpool 3 is happening. It's being, I think, written as we speak, and it'll get underway on its filming in a year's time, and we'll see it probably 2023, I guess. But theoretically, we'll have plenty of MCU content to occupy our time this year. So
and if it's anything 2020's teaching us right now, is movies can be produced in 4 months. So we might have it.
We might Deadpool 3 soon. in 4 months, like 3 months. Break the record. Why not? Let's do it. No visual effects whatsoever. It'll just be previs for everything, and Deadpool will just be like, it's funny because I'm Deadpool and it's previs. Like, get it? Like we're making a movie. It's not a real thing. Because he can get away with it. So that's the news for this episode. You ready to talk about Soul?
I am ready to talk about Soul.
Well, Soul is I guess a Disney Plus exclusive movie at this point. Written by Pete Docter, Mike Holmes, and Kemp Powers. Directed by Pete Docter. Starring the voice cast of Jamie Foxx, Tina Fey, Graham Norton, Rachel House, Alice Braga, Richard Ayoade, Felicia Rashad, Donnell Rawlings, Questlove, and Angela Bassett. It's about a musician, not a scientist, a musician, whose life hasn't quite gone the way he expected, who is transported out of his body and must find his way back with the help of an infant soul learning about herself. So, non-spoilers, Soul is something we watched the same day as Wonder Woman 1984 while it was down in Florida. I think once upon a time we had the idea to at least talk about the movie at that point. We ran into the same snafu of not being able to record in the same room, and lo and behold, we're here now a few weeks later. Have you seen it just the one time, I guess I'll ask?
I've only seen it once.
All right. Well, I know it had a little bit of an impact on you, and I know, you talked about it obviously a little bit in the last episode, but I am going to ask you to put your fuller thoughts on the record here. What did you think about Soul?
All right. So we're going to start with animation. Let's start with animation.
It's a good place to start.
What a beautiful movie.
Here's the question. Here's the big one. Does it impress you more than the Dragon Sand, the How to Train Your Dragon Sand? Is it at that caliber?
Okay, so the Dragon Sand, so I'm going to say no.
Okay. All right. I was just curious.
The Dragon Sand was absolutely fucking bonkers. That was nuts. That was...
For anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about How to Train Your Dragon 3. I don't remember what the subtitle is, but the third How to Train Your Dragon film, which I guess next to Spider-Man 3, which was a live-action film, has the best sand animation, like techniques that, I mean, the shit was lifelike. Like, if they snuck in a real-life shot of fucking sand moving around, I would have bought it. I mean, just some of the most mind-blowing animation techniques we've ever seen. Groundbreaking stuff. The
things that I appreciated in this movie was the lighting.
Yeah.
The lighting in this movie was... I guess I guess they've always had ray tracing and stuff in animation movies. But it's I don't know, man. It's like next level in this one. It just looks spectacular. It looks so good.
It's one of those things, I'm almost looking right now, like, did they invent new technology for this? And I don't see any record of that. Like, I think they just really made it a point to use the lighting to emphasize, like, to be an integral aspect of how they animated things. So
yeah, I mean, and I think
obviously,
the nature of jazz being the mystery and mystique of jazz music being the centerpiece for the movie, I think it bodes well to have lighting that kind of complements that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, yeah, the lighting in like the bars and that he was playing at and stuff like that. It was the lighting even in the we're not in spoilers, but I mean it was in the trailer. The in the afterlife and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, animation. I really appreciated the it was. I can't remember what I said about it when I first saw the trailer. But the design of the people in the real world, I really like that. I really like the way that those characters were drawn up. I thought they were. I don't know. It was very good, very tasteful. And the lighting and to go back to the lighting in the afterlife and stuff, and the great before, I think is what it's called.
Yes. Not quite the afterlife. It's where you go and, out of existence. But
the he's like, oh fuck that, I'm out. Just hopping on people's heads, trying to get away. It's hilarious. Yeah, the grass and everything, and that whole area was really cool. The score was outstanding.
Yes.
And apparently one Trent Reznor does the score of Nine Inch Nails, which is
it's all of Nine Inch Nails that does it. It's Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, the two official members of Nine Inch Nails now, who worked on the score for this. So yeah,
Nine Inch Nails working on a fucking
Pixar movie.
Yeah, Disney Pixar. Like if
what a world we live in.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have asked me if they would have been working for a fucking mega conglomerate, I mean, it's like the hand that feeds. Isn't that part of the song or something like that? He would have never thought.
Trent Reznor 20 to 30 years ago would be very ashamed of himself right now.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's like Rage Against the Machine working for Trump or something. You know, it's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so that's funny. But the music's outstanding. The characters are very, very, very heartfelt. Mm-hmm. The content is heartfelt. Like every Pixar movie. It hits you in the feels, I think. And I just think overall it is, man, I don't want to speak too soon about a year in review or anything like that, but that movie was put out at the right time, at the right year, and everything else. It just hit all the right notes. It had such a good message, and I couldn't have been happier to watch that movie. It's truly a beautiful movie. And I mean that figuratively and literally. I think it's just a really well made movie with a lot of heart, or a lot of soul, if you want to put it that way. Yeah. So hats off to everyone involved in that project. I can't speak highly enough of it. I don't know what to say. And admittedly, it's been, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks since I've seen it. So I mean, I'm a little spotty on specific details, but
I mean, I think we watched it the day after Christmas. So right. Yeah, it's been some time for you. But anyway, sorry, I think you were saying something. I cut you off for a second there.
No, you're okay. Yeah, no, it's been a little bit. So I don't have specifically. I was put aback by the by the animation, the score, the characters, and the message. I mean, those the it's not the message. What the fuck's my word there? There's a better word than message, but I can't think of it right now. It escapes me.
Theme.
Yeah,
motif.
the theme. Yeah, the theme and the motif of the movie. Exactly. Those are my bullet points, if you will. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, so what I'll say right now is, because I had watched it a few weeks ago, I thought, we're covering it now. I do want to watch it again, so I have it a little bit fresher in my mind. And so I did do that. I started it last night and basically finished it a little bit before we recorded. Because I wanted to have it a little fresher in my mind. And it had more of an emotional impact on me the second time.
Did it really?
This is a film that I really, really liked the first time. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. But it felt nice. It felt good. I liked everything about it. I feel like this second viewing is kind of where it seeped in a little bit more in terms of the bullet points you provided were kind of the things I was going to highlight. The things that, if I had talked about it in terms of platitudes, I would have said really nice things about it, for my viewing a few weeks ago, and said I remember liking these things about it. I remember liking this about it. But having just seen it, honestly, really the kind of bullet by bullet, the specific things you mentioned are the things that I am specifically wanting to highlight myself. So I will do that. I'll try to do it in a little bit more of a truncated fashion, because I think we very much agree on everything. I mean, I think everything you said, I 100% stand behind. I agree with everything you said. The animation is just top notch. It's beautiful. And in particular, the Earth-based scenes are where it really stands out. Lighting is a huge, huge component to that. The character design is interesting. It's good. The world it's set in, feels lifelike while still being kind of, I guess, abstract enough, that, it's still an animated film. It's not designed to be 100% lifelike, but it still feels like a real lived-in world where this main character lives in and is a part of. And that sort of thing is just really interesting to watch. And it's just, anytime it goes to that, I just found myself so sucked into just looking at it, just literally just looking at the screen, because it's beautiful. Disney Plus has this thing in 4K, and hopefully everyone has a chance to watch this in 4K and honestly listen to it with a good sound setup. Andrew's sound setup is vastly superior to mine. I have a 5.1 setup, but it's a 10-year-old system. It's fine. It does the job. I'm in one room. Andrew's is maybe not quite where he wants it to be, eventually, but it's top notch. It's good stuff. So this is a film where you want the sound design to really shine, and it's a film where all of everything could just kind of coalesces in such a huge, magnificent way that it. I don't know. I mean, the first time was really just taking it in. The second time was knowing what to expect and letting it, like I said, seep in. And man, it just hit those beats for me. And the animation, he said, I couldn't keep my eyes away. Obviously, I'm watching the movie. I guess my eyes should be affixed to the screen, sure. But just looking at the fine points, looking at the details of the animation and how they did it, and how the lighting is, coming in through the window of a barber shop, and little things like that. Just really little kind of attentions to detail that, it's clear that this was a movie that, Pixar is always top notch. Stories, obviously changed through the different movies. We had a Pixar movie earlier this year and Onward, which is a very, very different film to this, and one that, or not earlier this year, 2020. Damn it, I did the thing where I thought it was 2020 still.
God,
it feels like 2020.
That was 2020.
Yeah. To be fair, that was almost a full year ago. That was about 10 months ago, so it's been a long time since we watched Onward. But, that was a Pixar movie too, and that to me was just like a kind of generic kind of Pixar in terms of animation. I think it was a good movie, better than we expected, certainly. Sure. But this is the kind of shit that you can kind of expect Pixar to pull out of their sack sometimes. The Inside Outs and
Coco.
the Ups, the Cocos, yes, that Pixar is capable of producing. This, I think, is in that upper echelon of Pixar stuff for me personally. And a big part of that is the animation, as I mentioned, and a huge part of that is the story, really, of just, it's very touching. It's a very relatable kind of storyline. It's a weird sort of thing where Pixar is almost Pixar does, people are going to write them off as doing kids movies and stuff like that. And the Cars franchise is absolutely, a kids movie kind of franchise. And I think for all intents and purposes, all of Pixar's movies are kid friendly. This to me is closer to Coco in the sense that it's kid friendly, but it's
I think it's even less so. It's
less so than Coco. Yeah, I think I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, the content matter of this movie. I don't know. Never once did I ever feel like I was watching a kids movie.
I think the thing with this movie is that the Earth-based scenes are very adult, I think, overall. And I think when they do the great before, that's the kind of hook for kids, you know what I mean? Of the colors used and just the animation style just totally shifts into something that's a little bit more familiar with Pixar. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of where it's designed to be a little bit more kid-friendly. And it's a funny movie. It's humorous, and I think kids will enjoy the humor in it too. But at the same time, even with all that said, it's not like it's two movies mixed into one. It's not an adult movie and then a kids movie mixed into one. It's an adult movie and an adult movie. And it's one that's maybe just kid-friendly more so in aspects, throughout the movie. And they all work together. And I think that was one of the most surprising things about this film for me, was that I knew that the animation of the Earth-based stuff was going to be incredible just based on the trailer. I was worried about the Great Before stuff based on the trailer. And yet I think that was also incredibly good. Maybe not the best, maybe the Earth-based stuff is still the best because of the animation, because of, the characters kind of driving the story and those particular points. But the Great Before stuff is really, really impressive. And I thought that the actual design of it was very cool. And the thing that sold the design of it for me, especially the second time, I would say, was the score.
Yeah.
The score. And so I looked into this a little bit. So the score for all the Great Before stuff, that's the Nine Inch Nails stuff. That's Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross that does all the Great Before stuff.
Okay.
And it absolutely sounds like them. It's almost a Ghosts, instrumental type of Nine Inch Nails type stuff where it's, it's not the industrial type of stuff that Nine Inch Nails always does, but it's kind of, it's still piano influenced, but electronic, but it has that sort of flair. And then the Earth-based stuff, when you have the jazz stuff, that's not Nine Inch Nails. That's John Batiste, who is a jazz composer basically, and he's the band leader on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. If you've watched any of that,
yeah,
he's the guy that kind of does that. And so that's like his realm basically. And so I thought it was an interesting choice that they have these two disparate settings with just such different animation styles, with different music to accentuate it, with different kind of things that make them stand apart from each other. Yet this story is this through line that you have through all of it. Yeah. And it's these characters that are the through line through all of it. And all of it just works really well. It's one of those things, like, it could absolutely have felt like two movies stuffed into one, and it doesn't, because it's clear that because maybe they took 5 years to make the fucking thing, they figured each point out, you know what I mean? They figured out the plot beats out, and so even when, Joe Gardner, looks like he does on Earth, it's still the same character when he's this little green soul looking guy. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool, to have that sort of thing. I don't know. It all just ties together. And then that kind of hits on the last bullet point I think you brought up of the theme of the movie. You know what I mean? I think that's where the story shines through, is you have all of, the movie making, the behind the scenes stuff that is in service of this really, really beautiful storyline about, a fucking band teacher, a school band teacher who feels like he's not quite hitting his purpose in life and goes on this journey of self-discovery.
Yeah, it's really
finds a few things out about himself, and and we'll talk about it in spoilers maybe about kind of where that journey ends, but come to the conclusion of it, it's no surprise. I think this is a movie that was tailor-made to have a sort of emotional impact. I don't know that it had the same emotional impact on me that the ending of Coco did, but it still had an emotional impact on me.
And it's a different kind of emotional
impact. It's a different kind of emotion. It's, like I said, it's a journey of self-discovery. Coco is, I mean, I don't even know how the best way to synthesize that sort of thing is, but, it's about familial relationships and closeness with family. This isn't really about that so much. It's about, closeness with yourself and learning to love yourself and learning to love life. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a kind of theme, that can stick with anyone, that can stick with anyone that watches it. And, I think it's going to be more resonant with adults that, have gone through trials and tribulations of adulthood.
Stock market.
Right, yeah. Yeah. That was good. But yeah, that's the sort of thing. This movie just, I don't know, it just really does deliver on all aspects. It was just, it's a really good movie, and yes, I think as a preview of coming attractions, this is a movie that's going to be in the conversation for what the best of 2020 was. A very odd and weird and bad year, but we got 2 movies on Christmas, and we can definitively say that one is better than the other, at the very least.
That's for sure.
And I think we unfortunately watched them in the wrong order of going from good to bad, but
it's true.
But yeah, Soul is fantastic. And I guess one thing maybe you didn't mention, great cast, great voice cast.
Yes.
Jamie Foxx is really good. Obviously he played Ray in Ray, and I kind of feel like almost that was like sort of an audition, 16 years ago or whatever. But he's great. He fits the role of Joe Gardner to a T. Tina Fey pulls off a very annoying middle-aged white woman voice very quite well, but she's good. Obviously, Tina Fey is good. Graham Norton popping up as a voice actor is obviously appreciated and welcome. And Rachel House as Terry was good. So and that's not to mention all the others were great. Some of the smaller roles were still very well voiced, very well cast, very enjoyable, very good. So, yeah, I think that's kind of what I have on the Soul non-spoiler front.
Who is Questlove?
Questlove, what character does he play? Or are you asking who Questlove the man is?
I have never seen Questlove. It's like an Aquafina kind of name. Questlove.
Well, it's not his real name. You may be surprised to know that, but it's not his real name. So Questlove is a member of the band The Roots, which is the house band on Jimmy Fallon.
I know this guy. I just looked him up. Questlove.
Okay. Yeah. And I think he produced the Hamilton soundtrack or something like that. So,
really?
And I think he's done a ton of like hip hop rap productions in his career, but he plays the drummer in the quartet here, who's like a former student of Joe's for who he plays. In the movie.
That's cool.
Yeah. So we can get in a recommendation if you'd like.
Yeah, we can do that. You want to start it off?
I'm going to guess that we'll agree, but I'm going to say it's a very yes film. Top notch. I mean, I think some of the finest that a bad 2020 year had to offer, and if I may be so bold, I think that even in a normal year, I think Soul is a movie that still might have stood out.
Absolutely, it would have been a good the Big D experience.
Yes, if you saw it in the Big D, I was going to try to make some sort of joke here, but I suppose it's inappropriate for what is technically still, I guess, sort of a kid's movie, even though it's really not. It's the kind of movie that makes you yearn for seeing things in theaters, Like, I got to experience it in something as close to a cinema environment the first time through at Andrew's place with his fucking 70-inch OLED and, speakers array, so...
77.
I have no complaints. 77-inch. I stand corrected. Huge difference.
7 inches makes all the difference.
It does. That's well, if you ask a few people, they might say so. Okay, maybe that was a little too far for this particular subject. We're talking about mathematics, folks. I don't know. I was trying to cover. Yeah, I I experienced it in probably what I could describe as the best audiovisual experience that I had in probably 9 months to that point, which is to say I enjoy my 55-inch 4K TCL TV and my 5.1 10-year-old setup that I have in my room. It's the best that I have to offer in Philadelphia, but this is the kind of movie that, does make you wish that, things were normal and IMAX was a thing and Big D was a thing. I mean, Big D's definitely getting shut down. AMC can't afford Big D anymore. There's no way. If they're making budget cuts, Big D's got to be top of the list.
Big D's got to go.
Big D's got to go. They'd be like, Big D, is that really a thing? We called the thing Big D? All right. Which intern did this? Which intern did this?
We need a suit. I obviously didn't have very good suits at AMC when they came up with that.
No, probably not. But yeah. Anyway, I guess bottom line, very yes. It is something, and and it's on Disney Plus. You know what I mean? Like, it's there. Disney absolutely could have gotten away with making this the $30 Mulan type of upcharge, and they didn't do it. They said, Merry Christmas. Here's Soul for you. And they just kind of dropped in our laps, for $6.99 or $7.99 a month, whatever it is these days. Arguably maybe one of the best films of 2020.
Was not free. I guess it's $7.99, but
right.
Yes.
But for a measly subscription price, without the kind of bullshit upcharge that a lot of movies that came out in 2020 and I guess probably are continuing to come out in 2021 are doing, like. They just put it on the thing. They just put it on the thing for you to watch and just enjoy. And, I've watched it twice now. So, and it's something that come a 4K release, I would buy this film. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I very yes. Take it from here. I'm talking too much.
This is a very yes movie for me. Like you say, definitely a top contender for the year. My concept of time for 2020 is very skewed. Seems
like many of us, like many of ours are. It's
I feel like things happened years ago. But yeah. So I mean, it was just like I said. I think the timing of the release is everything. Especially given the year, the theme, and everything else. It was just a perfect storm. The way it was dropped. Like you say, the way that Disney chose to roll out the movie is huge, and I feel like it's a lot. It's really underplayed. Like, I haven't seen this movie everywhere. You know what I mean? I haven't heard about it everywhere. I mean, I don't have my ear to the ground, I guess. But at the same time, it just I don't know. I feel like it needs more recognition than. I mean, I'm sure it's getting. I'm sure it's got to have an outstanding Rotten Tomatoes score. I'm sure.
Well, yeah, it's very well reviewed, but I think maybe you're talking about friend circle. Like, no one seems to really give a shit about it.
Yeah, like yeah. So I mean, I've talked to a couple people, and they like, no, I haven't seen it. You need to go out and watch the shit. It's incredible. I think I can't remember who I was talking to about it, but it was like, yeah, you need to watch it. It's absolutely outstanding. One of the buyers at the bank. She's a big LaShonda. She works at one of the banks, and we talk about the movies, and she asked me and I'm always kind of skeptical to tell her how I feel about movies, like, truly, because I don't want to insult her, and she's buying my deals and stuff, So
sure.
she asked me about Wonder Woman. I'm like, yeah, I didn't really care for that one. And she goes, oh, I know. I thought it was complete garbage. I'm like, yes, okay, good.
Then you can unload.
Yeah, we can continue to shit on it. And then, but I told her Soul, so she said she was going to put it on the watch list. So next time I talk to her, I'll probably call her tomorrow to find out what she thought about it. But yeah, no, truly outstanding movie. Truly outstanding. Very yes movie. And there is not one inkling of doubt that it deserves anything less than a very yes. I mean, it's truly outstanding in every way. So that's my sole review. Truly outstanding in every way.
Well, you heard it here first. I guess if you're one of Andrew's friends, maybe you literally did hear it here first about like this movie exists. Oh shit, I need to watch it now. Yeah, do it. Disney Plus. Go watch it. Full spoilers for Soul. You know, it's not the kind of movie that needs a 2-hour Mandalorian spoiler coverage or anything like that, but you know, I think speaking more openly about it. Do you have anything that you need to get off your chest or anything like that? Anything that strikes you?
Yeah, I mean, just the hippie dude was hilarious.
It's fucking Graham Norton.
Yeah,
you know, it's great.
Graham Norton was great as the mystical guy that can bridge into the soul land or whatever. That's cool.
Sign twirler.
Sign twirler. That's it. Yeah. Other than that, I don't really know. I don't know. I mean, like you said, it doesn't have a whole lot of spoilerly shit. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about it.
There's not a lot of holy shit revelations in this movie, right? You know, it. I don't know. I mean, I guess it more or less kind of goes in the way that you'd expect. A broad strokes, right? Of just being like, well, you know, yeah, you know, he gets his big break, then he dies, maybe, or he goes into a coma, I guess, right?
Right.
And goes through the trials and tribulations of getting back into his body, and he gets back into his body, and in the process, he helps 22 out, and 22 kind of finds her own way in the world, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
See,
like,
I think
all the broad strokes are like, they are like pretty predictable, but like,
in helping, that's the best beat. That's the best story beat of the whole thing. You know, and in helping, and that's why he's a teacher. And the whole thing, I'm just skipping around. Let me try to make concise statements.
No, skip around as you please.
But you start talking, and then you make connection in your brain while you're talking. So that's what that was. But in helping 22 find what it is in life that she needs, her spark, he finds his. You know, and it's I fucking get a little fucking teary-eyed thinking about it. It's just fucking incredible. It's so, I mean, such a touching story, you know, because
it is.
He was moping around and down on himself and everything else, and then, like I said, in finding, in helping a child, I guess, you know, find what it is that, you know, what it's all about. He reconnects and finds his, and it's fucking spectacular. It's really good. And I think, like I said, the delivery at this year, not this year, last year, I guess, you know, with everybody, you know, really struggling and down, and a lot of dour notes for 2020, you know, Disney drops it and they drop it on their platform so everybody can enjoy it at the best possible price, you know, and they just drop it and that's that. And they can, you know, they share a touching story about people not focusing on the accomplishments that they could have had, or, you know, this or that, but what it is just to be alive.
Yeah.
It's really fucking good. I can't think of anything better, you know? It
is. It's very good.
First time on podcast, I got teary-eyed fucking talking about something. Yeah.
He's a little teary-eyed. He's feeling it a little bit. I mean, like I said, I felt it more the second time. The first time through, I think it was just kind of enjoying it and kind of taking it as it came. The second time, you kind of know like what it's building to, and I think that when it gets to that point of building to it where Joe kind of has that self-realization, like I felt that. You know, he's playing the piano, and he kind of lays out everything that 22 had collected when she inhabited his body, and puts it like right atop the piano, and then he just starts playing. And like you could just see like his eyes start to water. Like that's the fucking animation in this movie. Is you see him start to water, and he transitions into this, you know, the place in between, you know, where
like
he's able to
whatever.
I don't know. It hits like a sack of bricks really at that moment for me. And then it all kind of comes, you know, a little bit full circle by the end of the movie when, you know, like he kind of understands that, and basically kind of, you know, gets a second lease on life basically. And he knows that like, okay, you know, I am ready to live my life and just enjoy it and appreciate life for what it is. It's very touching, and as I said before, and I wasn't to speak ill of the film or anything like that. I think the basic beats of the film are again what you'd expect, and that's fine. The thing is, like, when you experience it moment to moment, when you're watching the movie, like when you see the movie, you feel every moment. Like, it sinks in. You can read a synopsis of it, you can read a summary of it, and it probably doesn't have as much impact. You're just like, yeah, okay, like, he changes the kid's life and the kid changes his life. All right, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, fine. But when you see it kind of play out in action, like, it really, really resonates in a huge, huge way. I think anyway. I think probably you think anyway too.
No, yeah,
like
I
emotionally affected too. But I don't know. Something about it is just so relatable, and maybe it goes back to this idea that, how much of a kids movie is this really? It is. I think something that's pretty adult friendly, and Joe is a very relatable character of someone who's, a middle-aged man who's, had grand dreams of, playing music for, being a musician. And, he's never quite hit that mark, and now he's a band teacher, and it's like, oh God, he's a band teacher. Is there a worse thing in life? And like, no, his mom is like, well, you got, fucking pension and,
health insurance,
retirement benefits and health insurance. And it's like, as adults, we're just like, yeah, that's a very valid reason for holding down a job. Like,
it's
those are kind of real,
works.
Those are kind of real concerns that people have of just being like, this isn't what I fucking wanted to do with my life, but like, it's what I'm going to do because I need to support myself. And, and some people are like, I need to support my fucking kids. And Joe doesn't have kids or a significant other or anything like that. But like, Joe needs to support himself, so it's still a very valid concern. And then even the barber kind of, I think the conversation that I guess 22 in the body of Joe has with the barber, and the barber's like, I want to be a veterinarian. And he's like, but that shit was too expensive. So I went to fucking, barber school, whatever. Not barber school is the right word, but
right.
You know what I mean. And like I went. It was cheaper to be a barber, and
they're like, I'm sorry, and he's like, no, don't apologize.
Right. He's like, no, like this is it. Like I enjoy what
it's fucking
I do.
Awesome,
like,
right?
Yeah. I just thought it's such a good outlook on life in general, obviously, and. And career progressions in a sense too, of just being like, it takes time to kind of find your feet, and like, you may not always be doing the one thing that you wanted that you always dreamed about doing, but like, everyone kind of has their own path in life, and it's about appreciating the little moments in life, and and that's obviously a message that for some people that are in the throes of like even depression to get to the the worst of it, that aren't really going to see that and think, oh yeah, I'm good now. You know what I mean? Like, that's not obviously how it works, but at the same time, I do think it speaks to a greater purpose of just saying like, everyone has their journey. There's always light at the end of the tunnel.
And it's always perspective.
There's perspective. I think that's a good way of looking at it too. Yeah. So I don't know. I just think the message, the theme, the all of it really just kind of resonates and just makes sense. It's something that, me, I'm going to school to do a thing. I'm not doing the thing yet, right? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not there yet. I'm not quite at Joe. Maybe I'll be I don't know. maybe at 40 I'll think, shit, I shouldn't have been a lawyer. I should have done something else. Or, maybe I should just enjoy the little things in life and, enjoy walking and
if you end up taking a job as an ambulance chaser, slip and falls or whatever, and you start getting down, you watch Soul, and you might recalibrate. You might,
right.
It might realign you a little bit.
Yeah, it's a good way to recalibrate. I guess that's also a good way of putting it. Of just, I don't know, something about it just really hit. And it's like, even as someone that isn't obviously in the shoes of Joe, like so many people are, and you can feel empathetic towards people that absolutely feel just kind of just being like, I didn't live up to my potential. I was made to do this one thing, and I didn't do it, and I can't do it anymore. Like, the time has passed, and it's just like, well, maybe, but that's not what it's about. I don't know. I just. And
that was
like
the whole point. That was
really
the whole point of the spark thing, right?
Right.
Like, they don't get their badge based on what they're meant to do.
The one thing, like, oh, piano, that's my thing. Like, I got my spark, it's piano, it's, it's jazz, or, it's just like, no, it's like, are you ready? Are you ready to live, So, I don't know.
It's really fucking cool. Hats off to Soul. I want to watch it again. Watch it with Sarah.
I think you should watch it again. Yeah, I think she would enjoy it.
I think so.
I think it's very good. And obviously we've talked about kids versus adults. I think it's it's the kind of film that I think many different adults will enjoy, whether from different walks of life, different points in their life. I think that the message still, maybe it resonates more depending on where you are, but I still think that like most adults kind of have a shared experience of just being like, there's a difference between being a kid, and there's a difference when you become an adult and you're a little bit more self-sufficient and you're doing your own thing. And I think that's where someone like Joe,
this is very much a movie
against
about,
the 22 character works.
It's a movie about an adult with adult shit, And I mean that's what the movie's about. It's about an adult. So I think it's very much an adult movie set within the confines of a children's thing. I think it's so it's approachable. You can go and watch it. You can watch it with your kids, but you'll probably walk away with more than what your kid's walking away from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which is a little unusual, I think, for Pixar. You know what I mean? Like, to some extent, something like Coco, again, I think maybe had more emotional resonance if you're an adult, but that's still a film that's enjoyable, I think, in all aspects as a kid. Whereas this one, I don't know. I am curious to see how this is the kind of movie that plays. I mean, it's just, to me, I can't think of a similar Pixar film that is this adult.
No,
they're all adult-like and adult-friendly. But this, to me, is like almost...
It's existential.
Yeah, really, it is. I mean, it deals with a lot of headier shit than I think that a lot of Pixar films tend to deal with. I mean, Inside Out, I guess, is probably the closest comparison. I guess it makes sense with the Pete Docter connection of, teenager and the emotions of being a teenager and like going through that and processing through that and doing it in a very Pixar way of, cutesy animation and, good voice actors and making it entertaining and still hard hitting at the same time. But something about this just, I don't know. I should watch Inside Out again, to be fair, at some point. I haven't seen that in a few years.
Is that the one with the different emotion, the different...
Yes.
I never saw that.
That's a good one. I think you should watch that. It's probably on Disney Plus, to be honest. But this is probably, I mean, I guess, I keep bringing up Coco because I think it's more in recent memory in terms of Pixar, but I think probably Inside Out is probably the closest comparison. And I still think that this one, because it centers around an adult character, is fundamentally different, whereas that centers around like the emotions of a teenager, basically. That they're a little bit different in that regard, whereas that one naturally skews more towards
he was the director
younger
of
audience. But yes,
I think that this is a good Up movie. You're gonna compare it to one. You can compare it to Up. That's good.
Yeah.
Up was such a fucking gut punch of a movie. Oh my goodness. But yeah, man, what a movie. Fucking Pixar, man.
It really just
what a
it more
what a
than checks
studio.
all the boxes.
Yeah.
Pixar, I mean, very rarely misses the mark, and they're fully capable of more than hitting the mark, and this is an example of that. It's a shining example of that, really, of 5 years of development, if that's what it takes, fine. Like, they just sometimes just are really, really there.
Pixar did Howl's Moving
really
Castle. That was a Pixar movie.
Was it?
I mean, it's listed
co-producer.
I don't know.
I don't actually know that. I might have known that if we had a Studio Ghibli episode at this point on Howl's Moving Castle, but
it's listed in their feature films.
I wonder if they must have worked on it with Ghibli, I guess, would be my guess if it's listed there. I actually don't know. I don't know the story behind that. I would be curious to know that.
Obviously produced by Studio Ghibli. I wonder if they just helped distribute it.
It's possible.
I don't know. Either way.
We'll talk about it eventually in 6 years or whenever we get around to it. But yeah, I guess, I mean, maybe final spoilery thoughts on Soul. For my money, Yeah, I mean, all of it just worked for me. Obviously, the Knicks thing where she's fucking with the Knicks, and that's why they have ineptitude. Championship wise, I think was incredible. In terms of anything else, it's really, I don't know. Hats off to Terry. I found Terry to be a very funny character. It's Terry time. Thought that was pretty good. I'm trying to think of anything else that I literally just rewatched it, so I suppose I should have the immediacy of the thoughts in my brain. But it's all good. The stuff with Connie was good. Just the stuff of Joe kind of being on the other side of basically being able to literally watch his life kind of play out from there. The whole idea of Joe getting cast back into Earth in the form of this cat and watching himself at 22, I guess, taking over his body and doing other things. I thought that was really kind of profound in its own sort of way. Like, it was funny in the sense of like, oh, he's a cat, it's funny, and like he's trapped in a cat's body, and there was the great cutaway. There's a few good cutaways. There's a very good cutaway of the cat just like ascending to the great beyond, just being like meow. It's just very funny.
Zap.
Yeah. Yeah. But
the bug zapper noise is fucking hilarious. That was the funniest.
That was good. I think that the second act, I guess, really, I don't think, maybe I just didn't see it in the marketing, or maybe it wasn't marketed at all. I think they did a really good job of concealing that plot point of Joe going into the cat's body and kind of seeing things play out from I don't know. It's just how disconcerting it must be to watch someone take over your body and do things on your behalf, but still kind of have control. I don't know.
And that's just it. I think that whole second sequence was. I think it is about control. I think it's about letting go of things. You know what I mean? I think that's what they're. At least that's the message I got from it. You know what I mean? You can't control the things. You know what I mean? You just have to. You're along for the ride, and I think that's part of gaining the. I don't know. At least that's what I got from it.
Yeah, but I think it was just good because it was, I don't know, Joe is a person who's so stuck in his own ways and like does his normal things, and that segment did a good job of highlighting like, take a step back and like see things for what they are. Like there was, I think, three particular, like, there's the thing where the Connie, who's the band student, comes up and is like, I'm quitting. And 22 is like, all right, peace, great, good job, quit. And then, she starts playing. She's like, boy, shit, you're really good at this. And she's like, yeah, I know, I really like this. It was just good. It was a good moment like that. And then there's the barbershop scene, I think, is really, really good overall. And it's just like, how come you never talked about this? Like, you never asked. And it's just like, oh, yeah, well, fuck. That sort of thing. And then the scene with his mom, when he gets the fucking cool-ass blue suit that he puts on. But, like, before that happens, it's, like, basically, like, he's afraid of his mom. He doesn't want to talk to his mom, and his mom wants him to take the job with all the benefits. And he's just like, but I want to do the thing. I want to be the musician. And, as it turns out, that's not all it's all cracked up to be. It's not like he suddenly has this great gig with this famous person and suddenly he's magically fulfilled. Like, no, it's about more than that. But, in the process of getting to that realization, he has a confrontation with his mom in the form of 22 saying all these things.
I think that might be another thing too. Like, in hearing you talk about it, the fact that he wasn't having the conversation with his mom.
Yeah.
Made it easier for him to have the conversation with his mom, air quotes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Definitely. I don't know. So, anyway, those are the things that rapid fire are coming into my brain as of late with recent rewatch. But I think that more or less covers it for me. For spoilers, I open it up to you.
So all I've got is the touching moments was the I can't I don't even remember when I was Not sure. The stock guy was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
The bug zapper was absolutely hilarious. Fucking Terry was hilarious every time Terry. Yeah,
Terry time. Yeah. Yes, obviously agreed.
Yeah, and then like I said, the big thing for me though was the theme. That was the biggest thing. So yeah, I mean, the just watching 22 interact with the world,
Joe.
Not
with
even Joe.
The world, fucking eating pizza and shit.
Yeah,
that
eating
sort of thing.
pizza. I mean, just all of it. Just
like when she's the street musician and like is like inspired and like sees the donut in her hand after someone throws a buck in there. It's just like here's a half-eaten donut.
Yeah, just it's all in wonder for the world around her. You know what I mean? And it's, I mean, it's very much just seeing the world through the eyes of a child. You know?
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. Liked it.
Yeah.
Liked it a lot.
Yeah. Oh, and I just remembered, I guess maybe my actual last thing. I enjoyed that, 22 has gone through a sequence of mentors in the film.
Yeah.
And they're all like historical figures. And she's
like Abe Lincoln.
Abe Lincoln is like, he's just like, how do you feel about, being on the $5 bill? And he's like, yeah, it's a great honor. Well, Jackson's on the 20. Jackson!
It's hilarious.
I don't know. Just like very quick cutaways. I think I talked about the cutaways. There's like probably 5 or 6 cutaways, at least in this film, where they do either that or some other thing. And it's just, it's almost to punctuate a scene with humor, but it works. Like it's a style that works. Even Terry's part of that when they're just like, Terry's like, shit, the count's off again. And there's Jerry is just like, oh, no, what's going on over here? You know what I mean? Like, just a little thing of a very serious moment. I think it's even happening at that point. They cut away for a brief, coda of humor, and then they come back and it's just like, okay, I had the funnies, and now I'm here for the serious. Right. It all plays together. It all works together. It works.
And they called it they renamed the thing. It wasn't the Great Before. They renamed it shit. It was a really clever. It was a clever name for the way they.
U Seminar.
Yes,
I think
the U Seminar, which I think is interesting. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, that's all I got.
Well, I think that's all I got as well. So there you have it. Soul, check it out on Disney Plus. Do yourself a favor, really, and check it out on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
I mean that quite earnestly. So. Before we get into what we've been up to since we talked about that great Wonder Woman film that came out recently, I do want to do a small segment of the Listener's Corner since it's been a while, and I do have some things to contribute to the Listener's Corner. So the first thing that I want to talk about in the Listener's Corner is something that was admittedly sent over a week ago from when we're recording. I'm not sure if we received it before we talked about Wonder Woman. I actually am not sure. I might have just missed it. But it is from Dalton Brown.
Oh, okay. New addition.
Who I am related to, admittedly. But, I take any and all forms of the Listener's Corner at this point. But he writes in to the Watch Review Repeat Gmail account, watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com, if you too want to be part of the Listener's Corner. He writes that Promising Young Woman was great. Very intense, and Carey Mulligan does an amazing job. Should be on paid video on demand soon. Indeed, it will be in just a couple days from when we're recording. I think January 15th is when it's expected. So we talked about this a little while back. We got a trailer for it, Promising Young Woman. I don't know if you recall that.
No, I don't.
Yeah, it's like it's a woman who something bad happened, and so she basically is seeking vengeance against men, I think. That she comes across.
Yes. So I remember that.
It's gotten very good reviews. Obviously, we have a personal account of it being very good here as well. So this is one that I'm very keen to watch myself. I don't think it's anything that we'll necessarily have a chance to cover for the purposes of doing an episode on it. But it is something I want to watch. And, maybe it'll crack that 2020 list as well, depending on how things shake out. But I did want to talk about that for a brief second. because it only came out in theaters. I think originally it came out around Christmas, maybe even on Christmas, maybe a few days before, something like that. I don't think it did very well, obviously because theaters are in dire straits,
right?
And because it's a pretty niche kind of movie to begin with. So I'm not sure why that was the release strategy to begin with, but that's obviously out of my hand. Obviously out of my hands. I have no control over that. The only other thing I wanted to bring up, and it wasn't explicitly for our listeners' corner, but we've gotten multiple text messages about it and in our group chat. Recent guest of the podcast, Enrique Jamie, has been playing Persona 5 of late on his new PS5, which he did talk about when we talked about Mandalorian. And he's talked to us multiple times about how much Persona 5 is awesome. He's been sinking. He said he sank 26 hours into Persona 5 Royal.
Man,
he's been waiting to play a good Japanese role-playing game for a while, and it's exactly what he was looking for. I think he sent us the intro song to it. Opening cinematic was what it was. A few days later, 30 plus hours in, so he'd sunk some more time into it, and he said it's really the shit. So I've heard amazing things about Persona 5, both the original and Royal, which is kind of the new version that has some added content integrated into it. I have both. I have the original and I have Royal. I think I opened up my copy of the original and installed it on my then PS4 and never played it. But I'm feeling, a little inspired by Enrique's words on it. Have you played any of the Personas?
So.
I have not played any Personas. I have wanted for the longest time.
Not to cut you off again, but is Persona almost like Final Fantasy?
I think it's a little more. I think it's different. I think Final Fantasy is more straight fantasy RPG. Persona, I think at least the recent entries of Persona have more of the teen, like Persona 5, I think you're at a school, you know what I mean?
Okay.
That's kind of the thing. And I think a lot of them have kind of had relationships with friends, romantic interests, like more stuff to do beyond Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is about this epic quest to do blah 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 and defeat the evil in the world, and the friends we made along the way. That's the real journey. Blah blah blah. I think that's kind of Final Fantasy in a nutshell. I think Persona is a little bit more. I don't know. I think its focus is a little bit different. Obviously the story is a big part of it, but I do think that the friendships and the romance, I think, is a bigger focus in it. I think in terms of how you play the game. I think particularly with 5, it would be easier to talk about it if I had played it myself. I would have firsthand experience to talk about it. This is where we defer obviously to people that have played the game, such as Enrique, but that's kind of my understanding of it. I mean, if I had to make a comparison that I can make firsthand, from what I understand, Fire Emblem Three Houses has a huge aspect where you're a professor at the monastery where you teach students and stuff like that. The gameplay itself is very Fire Emblem strategy, RPG type stuff, but the in between is developing relationships with students and teaching and stuff like that. People to me have described Fire Emblem Three Houses as Persona plus Fire Emblem, and so that's kind of where I see that a little bit. I think they did the Shin Megami Tensei plus Persona game, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, I think is what it was called. It came out for Wii U. They ported it to Switch. I never played it, but I think that's another one that's kind of a similar send-up of both styles of games. So anyway, long story short, Persona 5 is apparently great, so anyone that is looking for a Japanese role-playing game, a JRPG to play, if you have a PS5, you can actually play the original for free with you're going to play the original if you have a PS Plus subscription. Otherwise, Persona 5, I think you can get for pretty cheap for PS4. Persona 5 Royal, which I've heard makes some good quality of life improvements, I think is available for you to purchase as well. So, throwing it out there, a movie recommendation and a video game recommendation. I know we're not a video games podcast, but we talk about them. We play video games. It's no secret when we have time, I suppose.
When we have time.
So anyway, I throw those two things out of the listener's corner since we haven't done an edition of that in a little while, which brings us to me asking you now what you have been up to. Any movies, TV shows, video games on your side of things?
Yeah, so I've been building things. I built a miter saw pedestal almost, or like a miter saw thing to put the saw on, attach it to the wall, and then a long supporting workbench. And then I built a big ass it's the size of it's I think an inch larger than a 4x8 sheet of plywood, but it's a giant table with casters on it for a work table.
Okay.
So
I've seen pictures of this.
Yes, you've seen pictures of this. Yes.
Very impressive work.
It's a large table with wheels. It's the easiest way to say it. I mean, it's nothing spectacular, but I put it's the size of a sheet of MDF board, which is cool. And I made it hot swappable. So if I end up eating up that table, sawing into it, putting holes in it, whatever, it doesn't matter. I can just pop that tabletop off without any screws or anything else because it's resting on ledgers on the inside of the table. I could pop that tabletop off, slap another MDF board on, and we're back to the races, which is pretty cool. And we finished the wall, the black wall that's got wood on it. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like a cube wall.
Yes, you talked about it. I think on the Mandalorian episode,
squares on the wall.
You were describing it to us, and I think after 4 hours of talking about the Mandalorian, everyone was struggling a little bit with the amount of alcohol they had consumed, and we're just like,
we don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. Okay, so
yeah.
So yes, I have seen it with my own eyes.
How would you describe it?
Pre the painting of it, but
I think Anna put it best. Anna calls it a grid on the wall.
Yes, I think that's probably a good way of putting it. Yeah,
there's like a square grid on the wall, and then there's a window in the middle of the room, so it frames in the window. We painted that whole wall black, and which sounds very bold. It is a bold wall, but everything else in the room is like a light brown. So that wall has been finished, which is nice. I put a tin on the window, and this Sunday I will be building a headboard for the bed. So that's the first project that will be assembled on the table that I built, which is cool. As far as movies, I've Sarah didn't take it on my recommendation, but she took it on an Instagram influencer recommendation to watch Queen's Gambit, which I don't care how. I do kind of care that it came from an influencer and she wouldn't listen to me about it.
It didn't come from you. You couldn't convince her yourself, but lo and behold, this third party comes in and that's the magic word. That's what it takes.
That's what it takes.
Whatever.
That's it. I won't gripe about it too much because we're watching it again, which is cool. It's a very, very, very good show. That may make the a 2020 conversation.
For TV shows, certainly, yeah.
It's very good.
How far into the rewatch are you?
I think we have like 2 episodes left.
Okay. I'm just curious. Anna and I started it. We've only watched 1 episode, which is I liked it a lot. I think it was heavier than Anna was ready for. That first episode. It was a dark fucking episode. I think that first episode particularly.
They're all pretty dark.
I thought it was very good. I was gonna ask you, I was just like, is that what we should be expecting moving forward, or does it kind of get a little bit more, palatable, I guess.
No, don't get me wrong. It's not Chernobyl, okay? But, it
yeah. She did watch that, so she's been through the ringer a couple times.
It's not that. It does have higher points. It never gets really lighthearted, but it's,
okay. But
there are high points in the character's storyline that are good pick-me-ups.
Okay.
And with the tone that it sets in the first episode, the high points are pretty fucking high. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They feel they're good. They feel good.
There's not a little wins in that first episode.
Yeah. So we're rewatching that, which is cool. Watched the first episode, I watched an episode of Jeopardy with Ken Jennings as the
guest host.
The guest host.
Filling, unfortunately, Alex Trebek's Shoes.
Yeah. And it was a stark difference for sure. Aside from that, what else have I been doing? Oh, so we didn't talk about this, but I got an Oculus for Christmas.
Yes, we didn't talk about it.
I got an Oculus for Christmas, and I fucking love it. It's so cool.
I had a little Beat Saber demonstration when I was down in Florida, which was pretty cool. Admittedly, I have PSVR, haven't used it in a while, must confess, but it was a very different experience from that, if only from the perspective of, basically just using the headset was just
being
much more lightweight.
Detached. Yeah.
Controllers were a little bit more intuitive to use and such. So yeah, that's my VR experience. What's your VR experience with your Oculus?
So I beat the first Vader Immortal game.
Yeah.
That was really fucking cool. That was really cool. And I haven't played it since you left. So I haven't touched it in a little while. But I intend to. I had to get the garage straight and everything else, so I reorganized the garage and built the table and stuff. But so I beat the Vader Immortal game, which I think I did before you came down, and that was really cool. And I also downloaded a game. I play these puzzle games on my phone, or I've played them in the past. I've beaten all of them that I could play on my phone. They're called. It's called The Room. Is what it's called. And I give them. I think they're really cool games. They're kind of Lovecraftian in their theme. But you go. Essentially, what it is you have rooms that you go into, and each room has a series of there's a puzzle box in the room, and so you're sitting there doing the Hellraiser fucking puzzle box and figuring out on the phone you rotate the box around and you touch it and stuff like that, and it's a really it's the only game on the phone that I've actually enjoyed playing besides like card games, like swiping the cards up and stuff. But that's real simple. But it's the only touchscreen game that I've ever played on my phone that felt rewarding, and it's got not rewarding, but it just lent itself well to being played on a touchscreen. And the ambiance and stuff like that the game sets it scratches an itch that not a lot of games scratch, and it's on a phone, which I think is pretty cool. So they have a VR version of the game, or they have a VR game that they made. It's just completely VR that you couldn't play on the phone. And that's really cool. It's a little, I don't know. I think with like all things VR, because it's just so new, not everything's like boiled out, you know what I mean? So it's not buggy, but like, if you move, like if you walk in a certain direction, any sort of like real distance, then when you go to move to something, you might be like in the thing that you're not supposed to be in. Like you have to recalibrate, it's whatever. I haven't beaten that game, but it's really cool in VR. Yeah, VR is really cool. So I played Vader Immortal, and I played The Room, and I played Beat Saber. Beat Saber's cool. And I think... Oh, Cobra Kai. I'm working my way through Cobra Kai.
Season 3?
Season 3.
How far along are you?
I think I have 1 or 2 episodes left of that.
Oh, yeah, you're burning through it then. Okay.
Yeah, Cobra Kai's really cool. I really, really enjoy Cobra Kai.
All right.
Real approachable episodes.
I haven't watched any more of Season 2, and then I think I talked about last time, so I'm itching to get through it. I've been up to other things, as I'll talk about momentarily, but... Yeah, I've heard the viewership on Season 3, I've heard, is really, really impressive. It's the first season on Netflix, obviously, so that certainly a factor that very much helps. But seems like, I don't know, seems like Netflix has a huge winner. Like they obviously spent the millions to get the acquisition rights for it to have seasons 1, 2, and 3 up there. But it sounds like we might be seeing Cobra Kai for a few more seasons, which... Yeah, I welcome it. From what I've seen is great. Looking forward to it. It's awesome,
this season's pretty cool. I like it. So I'm about that. Been watching that, and I think that might do it. I think that's really about it. Working on home projects, VR, which is we didn't talk about it last episode. I got to talk about it this episode, and then Cobra Kai. Other than that, it's been Queen's Gambit, and that's it. Oh, one other thing. I got one other thing. So right. my aunt's fiance, or they're not married, I guess, but I don't know. Tom is his name. He plays music. He's a big music guy. And his name's Tom Scudiero. You can look him up. Shout out to him. And he has recruited me to try to help him make a YouTube channel.
Okay.
So I've been working on that on the side, trying to. He bought all the audio equipment and stuff, and I sent my aunt a link for a camera to get, and I will be producing his YouTubes.
Okay.
At least until I teach him how to use the software and everything, and then
to clarify, nothing active right now, but this is a work in progress to be continued kind of thing.
He has a YouTube channel.
Okay.
But I told him to start fresh. I don't know if he'll start fresh. Just so he has a clean plate to start with. But yeah, so it's I don't know the name of his YouTube channel. I know you can look him up that way though. His first and last name, Tom Scudiero, and you can pull him up. He's pretty good. He's got like a he's acoustic. He's an acoustic singer-songwriter. And he's got this area that he's designated upstairs that he wants to use as his recording space.
Okay.
And he wants to put some B footage in there, B rolls, if you will, of different things for when he makes a video. So right now, the past 2 weeks, we've been working on just he got the interface for his computer, so like the little mixer thing that he plugs the microphone into. And we've just been learning the audio software because it's the biggest component of a music video, I guess. And that's what. So we do pretty much. He's locked in Tuesday. So every Tuesday I go over to his place to help him with that. And that's that. So that's a little side project that I've got going on. When I have more to go on, I will definitely give him a plug. But like I said, I've been helping Tom out with that. So other than that, though, that I think might be officially it for me.
Not to put you on the spot too much, but could you spell Tom's last name for anyone that might be interested in looking him up? And
yeah, let's see here, Tom. Scudiero. Scudiero.
Okay. All right. Well, there you have it. That's not the spelling I would have guessed, so that's why I asked.
Because I can't read I can't read or hardly spell, so that's that.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't want to put you on the spot. I wasn't sure. If I'd be testing you. It wasn't meant to be a test. It was an earnest question. Okay. Well, good to hear. I know everything's going on over there. I think the best way to preface kind of what I've been up to is to say that, I talked about took 3 weeks off. Well, again, I did the same
fucking
thing.
Tenet. I watched Tenet. Goddamn, I watched Tenet.
Yes. Save your thoughts.
I'll pump the brakes.
Save your thoughts on Tenets, but you've finally seen it. It took, 4 or 5 months after release, but goddamn it, you've seen it. So that's something. That's something. Yes. We'll talk about it, I think, theoretically soon, I think is the idea. We'll talk about it, but I think that's our hope and expectation. To preface kind of what I've been up to, had the 3 weeks off as part of my break before starting school back up. The first 2 weeks I spent in Florida, I drove back up, and then I had a week that Anna and I basically spent together in Philadelphia because we wanted time together to just chill. You know what I mean? Just chill, no worries in the world, just do what you want. And, we spent the vast majority of our break watching the Mission Impossible franchise.
What a way to spend it.
we watched 1 through 6 together. And
had she seen them?
She had not seen any of them.
No way.
So this was a fresh take on the Mission Impossible franchise from start to finish.
2 was her favorite, right?
2 was absolutely her favorite, as it is easily the best in the franchise. Tom Cruise just putting the sunglasses on, getting his Mission Impossibles from the sunglasses, and the scarf, catching the scarf. The motorcycles going up on the wheelies and, jumping off them and slamming into each other and kicking the sand and kicking the gun up and shooting Dougray, all that good stuff. She loved Mission Impossible too.
The mask on mask on mask.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it was interesting because she obviously knew the franchise, and we had talked about watching it for literally months at this point, and then we watched 1. We had talked about watching 1 for a while, and then we watched 1, and then it just kind of turned into a thing. And we watched, I think, pretty much, I didn't quite, for a while it worked out that we were watching 1 a day, and then we kind of got a little behind, and we watched the end of Ghost Protocol, all of Rogue Nation, and then all of Fallout in one day. So we really kind of, went Mission Impossible heavy towards the end of one day. Yeah, I mean, obviously I can't speak on her behalf in terms of what she thought about it, but she really liked the spy stuff of 1, and then I think, I tried to explain to her, like 1, 2, and 3 are very different movies, and then 4 through 6 is kind of where it starts to find its footing in its sort of way of just being more consistent and like kind of, hitting on the same kind of points in terms of what it does as a franchise. For anyone that's interested, Andrew and I did, I think, a pretty extensive conversation on the first 5 Mission Impossible films as a bonus episode. Then we did Mission Impossible Fallout when it came out. You have to go back on that 2018 tab of our Watch Review Repeat website, or just scroll way down in the podcast feed on iTunes or whatever. But like, it's a good fucking franchise is what I would say.
Yeah, that's
like
good.
2 is fucking garbage, just an absolute garbage film, but it's still pretty funny to watch. And like, it was even funnier to watch secondhand, with like, I warned Anna, like I didn't like be like, oh, it's so good, I can't wait. I told her, I'm like, this movie fucking sucks. This is a bad movie. It's so dumb. But like, honestly, like I'm kind of excited to watch it because of how fucking stupid it is at points. You got pigeons flying around, you got doves flying around, you got
and they lock cars and spin.
Yes.
Slow-mo stare while
when they're doing the convertibles. Yes, and yep. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, she loves Tandy Newton, so it's just kind of like, all right, we got Tandy, and you got Dougray, who doesn't love Dougray, you got Tom Cruise being a grinning asshole, you got Anthony Hopkins, uncredited in his role. Anyway, I think she hated 2 as much as everyone else does because it's a really bad film, but I think she did still enjoy it from the schlocky point of view. I think she liked Ghost. I think she liked the latter 3 a lot. She liked 1 a lot. She wasn't super big on 3, which I think I liked 3 more than she does. But I don't know. It was really fun to just go through. Like, there's just fun, rewatchable films. I think even the worst of those films are fun and rewatchable.
Yeah.
And those last few are just really fucking good. And the thing, I had never watched Fallout. I bought the 4K of Fallout, and I hadn't rewatched it, I don't think, since theaters. This was the first time I'd rewatched it since theaters. They did the nice treatment where the IMAX sequences were presented and the expanded aspect ratio on the 4K presentation. And my jaw dropped. I was mind blown by, like, they have the helicopter sequence where, it's him and Cavill in the helicopter towards the end.
And Henry Cavill's shooting the minigun out of the side of the fucking helicopter.
That's in IMAX. That's in the IMAX ratio.
Yeah,
it's so fucking cool. Epic. Man, that was so cool. There's a couple other little things in there.
Fucking
that's not an IMAX, but reloading fists in the bathroom fight is still epic as always.
Did she lose her mind? Did she lose her mind when she saw that?
Yeah, I think she was she knew about that a little bit. She was looking forward to that. She's a Henry Cavill fan. I think he might be in her top 5.
Who isn't a Henry
top
Cavill
5
fan?
So right. Who can blame her? Really?
The fucking mustache.
The fucking mustache. Fucking awesome. Ruined Justice League just to be in a vastly superior film. Awesome stuff. Yeah, Fallout was good. Rogue Nation, I think, is still my favorite. I love Rogue Nation. That's the introduction of Leggy Bay, Rebecca Ferguson, who is probably one of my favorite introductions to the franchise. I just love that character of Ilsa Faust. I think it's just such a cool addition to the franchise, and basically Ethan's equal, but I don't know, but leggy, I guess.
Yeah.
Great. That franchise is so much fun. I love it. Those films are so rewatchable. I can't get over how rewatchable they were. Like, I mean, I could have queued the next one up as soon as I finished the previous one. Like, even 2, which is like garbage. Maybe I would have been queuing 3 up to be like, I need a palate cleanser or whatever. But
right.
I don't know. I love those things. And, Tom Cruise, we talked about filming Mission Impossible 7, right? We talked about that earlier in the episode, with the COVID shit, of just being like, wear your fucking masks, or whatever he's up to. I love that franchise. I'm so looking forward to do the 7 and 8 that are coming out. They're filming them together. I assume they're still filming them together, even with the COVID protocols in place, assuming the fucking crew members actually follow through with them.
Right.
I don't know. So good. So anyway, I shan't dwell on the Mission Impossible franchise much longer, but again, go watch those films if you haven't had an opportunity to do so. If you haven't seen them all, do a 1 to 6 watch. Like it works. Like,
and then listen to the podcast.
Are so different, and then listen to the podcast. That's where I was leading. Indeed, yeah. Go listen to our stuff. I mean, I'm almost curious to go listen to ourselves. I know it's a little, I don't know what the best word is. Listen to your own podcast. Okay, all right, a little full of yourself there, aren't you? You know what I mean? But I am curious to see what I thought about these movies 2 years ago compared to what I thought about them today. Like, I do wonder if it was similar, exactly the same, that sort of thing. But it's a curiosity.
I feel like it's always been a consistent opinion of ours. I think we've always enjoyed Mission Impossible.
Yes, we have. Yeah, for sure. So anyway, beyond Mission Impossible, we finally got around to watching Legally Blonde 2, Legally Blonde, Red, White, and Blonde, I think. Something like that. It's a fucking horrendous film. It's got to be one of the worst films I've seen in a long time. Just an abomination of the film. And bear in mind, I enjoyed the first one. I thought it was legitimately pretty good, enjoyable, not like amazing, but like pretty good. And like, it did things pretty well over like the legal field. And I enjoyed it because of, watching it through the lens of being a law student. And then this movie is just fucking nonsense. It's just fucking nonsense, like, everything about it is just the dumbest thing possible. It's just so over the top, and like Reese Witherspoon had like just filmed Sweet Home Alabama, so she couldn't even be bothered to have her fucking real hair for it. So it's just like wigs, and it's just real dumb and real bad. I got nothing else to say about it. Legally Blonde 2 sucks.
Sweet Home Alabama is pretty good though. I like that one.
Yeah, she clearly put her efforts towards the superior project, I guess you could say. So we finished the season 4 of The West Wing. There's 7 seasons, so we've got 3 more to go. This season here is the last of the Aaron Sorkin created part of The West Wing, so I imagine season 5 is going to mark a bit of a transition in terms of kind of how it plays, but it ended on a cliffhanger, which I thought was kind of surprising. Like, I figure, a writer, creator kind of leaves the show, has written most of the episodes. I figured he'd want to go out on his own terms and just be like, all right, I'm ending the show, and, and if they want to continue it in my stead, fine, they can do what they want. But it was basically just being like, I'm going to set up a bunch of plot threads and fucking bail. Like, you know what I mean? It was just it was an interesting thing. So I have no idea how anything resolves. I don't know if it's going to be satisfactory or anything like that, but it was good. It's interesting. It's fun. It's good stuff. I love The West Wing. It's awesome, especially in light of, it being fantasy, given this current presidential term, soon to be last presidential term. I don't think I mentioned it up the top because I got lost in all the zaniness of everything in 2021, but fucking Georgia came through and delivered 2 Senate seats for the Democrats. I mean, what the fuck? Who would have seen that coming? Very impressive. So we'll have a 50-50 Senate split, which means that obviously, assuming the election was legit or whatever, that come January 20th, Vice President Kamala Harris will be the Senate tie-breaking vote. So that's obviously a big deal for Democratic interests moving forward. But anyway, West Wing is a show very much about politics. I don't think that's too off base to talk about that sort of thing. But I highly recommend The West Wing. They moved it from Netflix. Netflix the rights expired, so now it's all on HBO Max, where they have the special, the taped special that they did as well. Talked about Queen's Gambit already. I won't hit on that. So the last thing that I will hit on is Hades. Again, I talked about it on the Wonder Woman episode. I'm going to talk about it again here. Have you played any more since we talked about it last? I assume not. But so yes and no is my answer to your question of whether I beat it. I have cleared Hades in the sense that, I don't know if this is a spoiler to say, you could probably guess who the final boss of Hades is.
I imagine it's probably Hades, right?
It's probably Hades. I can neither confirm nor deny. What I can say is that beating the final boss of it, whether it's Hades or not, can neither confirm nor deny. That is not the end of the game, is what I'll say about it. Is that it's a kind of game that requires multiple runs through beating the final boss. And so I can say that I've beaten the final boss not only once, but as of a couple days ago, I've beaten the final boss twice.
Fuck.
And so the story does progress once you get to that point. You get a story progression, and then there's a story reason for why it kicks you back into the pool of 6, and you kind of start anew, and you go about your quest again. It's all kind of caked into the story of like why you're doing the thing. But I must say, even though I still have to continue to get the true ending of the game, God damn, was it satisfying to fucking clear that for the first time. I came within one hit of beating the final boss.
Oh,
one time,
no.
And I lost life. You know, I died and had to respawn.
I still haven't beat that fucking skeleton snake.
You got a ways to go. I mean, it's one of those things. I found that once I cleared the Bone Hydra, once I got through Elysium and beyond, that I don't know. You know, you play the game more. It's how the game works. You play the game more, you kind of get better strategies. You kind of have an angle of how you want to go about it. You know which boons you want to collect. You know which, sort of things you want to upgrade with the darkness. Yeah, it's super satisfying when you finally do it. You should go back to it at some point. I would like to hear your thoughts about kind of getting through some of the things past, or at least up to kind of where I am with it now. But I will say, super satisfying, obviously. Frustrating when you don't quite hit the mark of where you're going, but super satisfying when you do. Just such a... How
long is a run? A full run?
I think they've taken me in the neighborhood of 30 plus minutes to do a full run.
Okay, that's not bad at all.
It's not. Yeah, it's really not. I think 30, 35 minutes roughly. And I think I did it on my 40th-ish attempt, maybe 41st, 42nd attempt, which I think is in line with some of the others. I think I've seen some people do it like 38, 39, so you can kind of tell when you're getting in that ballpark of being able to pull it off.
You playing it on Switch?
Yeah, I've been playing it on the Switch. It runs well on the Switch. It's enjoyable on the Switch.
I was playing it in the living room, streaming it through the Apple TV from my computer.
Yeah.
With the Steam thing. So it wasn't the best performance, but I don't know what run I'm on. But yeah, no, I mean it was definitely scratching an itch when I was playing it.
Yeah. Well, keep at it. I mean, it's one of those things. A lot of it is like figure out the thing that works best for you. I think you can kind of make the run best tailored to your gameplay experiences, like what works best for you, what weapon works best for you, what power-ups. Like, so the things that I thought were helpful for me may not be helpful for you. I think everyone's going to have their own experience with it, but it's an incredible game. I know it's been in a lot of Game of the Year conversation for 2020, along with like The Last of Us 2, which I still haven't played, and a bunch of shit I haven't played. So for my money, what I have played, Hades blew my fucking socks off, is what I'll say about it. So I highly, highly recommend Hades for anyone that, I talked about it last episode, so I know, again, I'm probably hitting on a lot of the same points, but if you have a Switch or access to Steam, I think it'll eventually maybe come out on PS4, Xbox, and stuff like that. If you have a chance to check it out, Hades is absolutely worth your while. I bought it for, I think, $20 on the Switch eShop, and it's been worth every penny. No kidding, every penny. So check it out. I think that is it for me, unless anything has popped across Andrew's desk in the past, I don't know, however many minutes I've been talking about shit I've been up to. I think that does it for this episode.
That's it?
I think that does
That's
it for this episode
episode
on Soul. So thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. Patreon, something Andrew plugged earlier. If you want to get early access to our regular episodes, and if you want to be on the first people to experience Locked Down because you heard about it on this episode here because you're a Patreon supporter, it's not very good for advertising it for people that are past that date. But if you want to be in the know and listening to us first, and maybe getting early access to bonus episodes that we do in 2021, we'll do it at some point in 2021. I'm making a declaration that we will do bonus episodes this year. We did some last year. We just were irregular about them. I shouldn't be too unfair to myself. We did do them. Just we'll figure it out. We'll do bonus episodes this year. It's a promise. I'm making a promise. It's going to happen this year. You just got to sit down and figure it out.
January. Yeah.
So
does it start in January?
The promise?
Yeah, the promise, or is that January is a promise to figure it out for February?
January is a promise to figure it out for hopefully February or sometime in February. If not the first, then sometime in February. I think that's a fair way of putting it. It's been a little while. I've got a few things to watch if we wanted to do Studio Ghibli or something else at this point. Who knows? But January, as I've said, I think is a month of catching up for us, of getting around to the episodes that we haven't had a chance to talk about. Obviously, again, we are a few weeks late talking about Soul at this point. So we're kind of using this month. I think it's a fair opportunity to catch up, and I think that if that means catching up to get ready for a bonus episode, then so be it. That's what we'll do. I'm promising it. We'll make good on the promise at some point, ideally in February.
Sounds good.
So, all that said, patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat is where you would like to go if you want to get early access to our regular episodes or to any forthcoming bonus episodes. It's $2 a month that we ask of you, and that goes towards supporting our hosting costs of the podcast and the website as well. So, it's not about making money. It's about, saving some costs for us in the long run, something like that. But anyway, our regular website is watchreviewrepeat.com. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at WRRPod. If you want to like us on Facebook, you can search for us on Facebook, Watch Review Repeat. We have a page there. You can just like and follow us that way. Questions, comments, and suggestions. As I mentioned earlier, we have a section that we occasionally bring out of the woodwork called the Listener's Corner. So if you have been up to anything in terms of watching movies, in terms of watching TV shows, in terms of video games even, just send any thoughts on those our way at watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. This might be a good time to solicit input on, maybe your favorite movies of 2020, your favorite TV shows of 2020. We will be doing a year in review episode probably before the end of the month, I think, ideally. And so,
and those are always real fun episodes.
They're fun episodes. This one's going to be very different because it's just been such a fucked up, weird 2020. Or it was a fucked up, weird 2020. It's going to be, I think, a different flavor of that. But certainly, I think we did it last year where we had a couple, user contributions of, hey, this is what I thought was the best of that year. And it sometimes aligned with us and sometimes didn't. So I think we're curious, first and foremost, to hear what people think about things, but also, honestly, suggestions are probably a good thing that could come out of that if we get those early, of just being like, shit, like everything we watched in 2020 was from fucking Netflix and, streaming and whatever else we could get. So if there are things that come up that aren't from, the obvious things that we already covered or had access to, like, maybe it's worth going out of our way to look at some of these things. And, some of these things are paid video on demand and all that stuff. And there are a few things that I myself know I want to watch before I talk about my favorite in 2020, because I know that there are so many blind spots right now. I don't feel comfortable doing that episode right now, but it'd be helpful to hear from some folks if they've, had the opportunity to watch things that we haven't talked about or haven't seen, to give us maybe some direction of like, this is really good. This could crack your top 2020, episodes or movies rather. So anyway, watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com if that's anything that you want to contribute to. Our intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. We haven't explicitly discussed what we want to cover next. Like I said, because January is catching up. We once upon a time talked about doing Tenet as an episode. It obviously debuted in theaters many, many months ago. Neither of us saw it in theaters. I saw it in a drive-in kind of roughly around that time. Andrew has just now seen it. I shushed him because I thought maybe we'd have an opportunity to talk about it, on an episode of itself. And even if it's late, shit happens, like weird things happen. I think it's still a movie that we want to talk about. I think there's a lot to unpack in it, for good or for ill, perhaps. And I do want to rewatch it soon. And so maybe that's something we can do. Beyond that, I'm not sure what else is imminently coming up in January, but, I just kind of figure it's an opportunity. If there's any blind spots that we have in the 2020 filmography, then that's an opportunity to dive into those. And then we'll probably be getting into, our year in review. I think another thing that we still have yet to do, which we talked about doing, is an episode centered around Chadwick Boseman. And some of his performances, and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom came out on Netflix in December, so that's another thing we haven't seen. So we have things we need to catch up on. So maybe Tenet, maybe something else. Keep you posted. Obviously, just keep an eye out. We'll put up some episodes moving forward. But eventually we'll catch up and be back on schedule for theoretically February, and then hopefully we'll have enough things to occupy our time at that point, and hopefully at some point this fucking year we'll be able to step foot back in theaters, and then really normalcy will be restored. But until then, we're just doing the best we can, trying to keep up, stay on top of things, balancing our personal lives and our work lives or school lives, I guess, and that sort of thing. So it is what it is. We were making the best of it, and hopefully our listeners are enjoying what we are putting out, with the exception of some shitty audio quality aside. So.
Right. I was going to say that.
So anyway, skip Wonder Woman 1984 if you haven't already. And then you don't have to go listen to that episode. I suppose I should promote ourselves, but save yourself this trouble if you have to. But anyway, that's all I have to say on this front. I defer to Andrew to take us out.
Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Laters on the Menjay.